Hearing 8 Coolidge Street, Daniela Santos and Anston Silva for a special permit under 195-61, limited accessory apartment, and any other relief that may be deemed necessary. Is someone here to speak for the Santos tonight? Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, so we were here last month, and you guys requested us to have our son on our deed because he's living in the property. And we did that, and I sent through email to Becky. So I'm assuming you guys have received that.
Right here. Yeah, I think I have it right in front of me here. Oh, okay. Do we have the document?
So this one is the new deed? Looks like it's going
Yeah, it was recorded. I just didn't.
it looks like that posted in the corner.
So we have the three names, Daniela Santos, Anston Silva, and Kevin Silva as joint tenants. Okay. So we do have the deed. I do have a letter that I have to read into the record. I know the other letters have been written in.
That fire prevention one is new, it came in.
This is new as well?
Yeah, that is new as well. We didn't get to read that one this time.
Town of Chelmsford Zoning Board of Appeals, 50 Billrica Road. Proposed limited accessory apartment at 8 Coolidge Street. Dear members of the board, this office has reviewed the proposed limited accessory apartment at 8 Coolidge Street and finds the following. The entire home shall be upgraded to comply with the latest edition of the Massachusetts State Building Code for smoke, heat, and carbon monoxide detectors. The proponent shall submit plans for review to the Fire Prevention Office via the Town of Chelmsford online permitting portal. All smoke, carbon monoxide, and heat detectors required shall be marked on the plans prior to submission for review. This department is concerned that if there are more than one dwelling on a property, then that occupancy should be identifiable from the street. This office will require 2 mailboxes identifying the property as 8 Coolidge Street and 8A Coolidge Street. Both addresses must be visible on the building to the street. The applicant shall make an application for addresses to the Chelmsford E 911 Committee and its coordinator, Town Clerk Tricia Druez. This department is not interested in official change of address being recorded on the deed. It is only our intent to distinguish this home to emergency responders. This office would approve of this plan with these conditions, and I ask that the board make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully, Danielle Kostafis, Captain, Chelmsford Fire Department. I have another letter from Jacqueline Lamasseur. Dear members, my name is Jackie Lamasseur. I've lived at 17 Coolidge Street for 46 years. I'm writing you on the current issue at 8 Coolidge Street and the petition for a special permit. I hope that my input will be considered in your decision whether to grant that permit. I knew the previous owners well over the years, and when they both passed, the property sold to Mr. Santos. At the time, there was a one-story house, a single barn, and a dirt floor, and a small shed out back on a knoll. Since the current owners have moved in, they have raised the roof on the house, doubled the size of the barn, and tripled the size of the shed. Trenches were dug from the main house to the barn. There is now another small shed on the sideline of the property line. I don't know if there are ever any building permits issued for any of this. Before the town made their visit, I realized what was going on. I believe there was 2 apartments in the barn and 1 person living in the shed. They had been breeding Labrador retrievers for many years in the other half of the barn. There were at times as many as 8 to 10 cars on the property, and there were 3 separate trash pickups on the same property. Mr. Santos stated at last meeting that the upstairs barn was his man cave, and that is not true. I feel that you should have all the facts in making your decision. If Mr. Santos' son is now living in the house and Mr. Santos is living somewhere else, there should be no need for a special permit for the barn. If there were never any permits for any of the work that has been done to the property over the years, they should not be allowed a special permit. As a lifelong resident of Chelmsford, I was taught to follow the rules, and I believe that the situation Mr. Santos finds himself in is his own fault. For years, the neighbors have not complained, and unfortunately, he has taken full advantage of that. If he is allowed to get away with this, then what does it say to the rest of the residents? I hope you will consider these facts as you make your decision. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you for your consideration of my input. Sincerely, Jackie Lamasio. So this information is not something the Board of Appeals can utilize. We're going to make a decision on whether you have the right to have a limited accessory apartment tonight. All these items can go to the building inspector, and he can deal with them as he sees fit. We have no purview over it. We have no responsibility to it. It's unfortunate that there's, friction between the neighbors, but we can't answer to any of that. It's an allegation of sorts, but we have no anything. So we're going to just make a decision based on your rights to have the LLA, which there are certainly boundaries for, and I think most of them have been answered. One of the questions we had is your son, who's going to be living there, on the deed, and he is now on the deed. That has been presented to the board. So, are there any questions of the board?
All set now.
Seeing none?
I just wanted to say thank you that you, for what I see, you understand that when neighbors don't like each other, things happen, and you guys are all welcome to come and look at the barn upstairs to see there is nobody there, and even the cabinets that we had there was taken down, so you're welcome to come anytime to check
Well,
out.
I believe there'll be an inspection process, should
Yeah.
this be approved. And again, there's really very little to do with us. We're going to decide that you've complied with the requirements to have an LLA or not, and vote on that. The other allegations, if Mr. Negron has a system to deal with it that he seems to do quite well with, so.
Thank you.
He'll certainly be inspecting your property if permits are issued, and that would be the case for all the inspectors.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor or opposition to this at this time? Seeing
I'd
none,
like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
second by Jackie, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry,
Let me see.
what's my name?
I see Jackie again?
He said Jamie. I heard Jamie.
No.
Yeah, he's, he is funny, doesn't he?
I'd like to make a motion, Brian. I'd like to make a motion to approve the special permit
Can I
under
ask
195-6.1 for limited.
Can I ask a question before you make a motion?
Yeah, sure.
So do they not have to actually do the construction of the porch outside before we can give them a permit for?
We're going to allow them to, if we vote in the affirmative, we're going to allow them to construct, but to do that, they have to go
Plans.
apply for a building permit, and then they go through the town process. Our decision is, are they allowed with rights to build the limited accessory apartment?
So we're considering the porch that they're gonna create that's connecting the two
The
buildings
entryway,
as kind of the limited accessory
Connecting
apartment.
the
Is
two.
that-
I would not say it's atypical, but it is allowed.
But that's the
I
thought
mean,
process that we're using.
What they need to do is have a space that's less than 750 square feet for the limited
Yeah.
accessory apartment.
Yeah.
It has to be connected to the home. There has
So
to
the
be.
building of the porch is what we're considering to essentially be the building of the LLA.
It's an extension of the home. To call it a
Yeah.
porch or a walkway or an entryway is unusual, I'll grant you, but it is,
And that doorway has to be changed, right?
Yeah,
Where the
are you
entrance
moving, you
doorway-
mentioned moving the doorway. So
That'll
that it
all be
actually-
handled by Jose.
there has to be, yeah, all the permitting issues and all that would go to Jose, but they need to have access to both units from the interior space.
Yeah, you had mentioned in the last meeting that I watched, the door was going outside, and you had mentioned moving it so that it actually
Right,
goes
you'd
right
actually
into the
have to be
apartment
able, from the interior space, about leaving the building to go from one unit to the other.
So that's what we would be approving.
And they also have to be, of course, connected.
So that would be included in our approval. right, with those changes,
Yeah, we're
To the
we're
plan.
granting the ability to build it, but Mr. Negron is gonna do the
details.
nuts and bolts of it, correct? He's gonna make sure it complies with the town bylaws and the state building code.
So, one more question, as someone who's
We
not,
we can discuss this, I'm not trying to rush anything along.
as someone who's not voting on this, who is voting on this?
And myself, I think, right?
Five,
Yep.
correct.
Okay.
Because we were here for the last one, I think.
Yep. The only, from looking at the attendance sheet, the only person who cannot vote is yourself for missing one meeting. And then Jamie had missed a meeting in January, but she has since viewed it and has signed a Mullen affidavit, and so has Erin
Thank
for the meeting that she missed in April.
Yeah.
So we have both of those, so
Yep.
they can vote.
So we have five voting members.
And we would be voting under the assumption that their son is living in the LLI, and they're living in the other part of the house.
It has to be a family member,
Yeah,
that's
so that's
correct.
that's.
That's why,
supposed to be- yeah,
hmm,
okay.
that's why we did the deed.
And the deed has been changed to reflect his name on the deed, and we saw that tonight.
So a family member has to be living in the LLA, and the owner has to be living in the house.
No.
Not
On
the
the
owner,
property.
but a family
A
member.
family member, sorry.
The owner is not required to live there, but they have to be related. Both parties have to be related to live, one is gonna live in the LLA and one will live in the house. But not necessarily the owner of the property.
Owner occupied?
He is considered an owner at that point because he signed, he was added to the deed. That was the issue last time.
That was the issue.
Yeah,
He has to,
yeah.
he has to be on the deed,
Deed.
be considered an owner.
Right.
So
One
then,
of them does.
So he
So
can
the-
live either place.
he can live either, and then
Yes.
the other place can
Yes.
be whoever, it
Who's gonna
doesn't
be in
matter. They
Right.
don't have to be
Often
in
we'll
it.
get an application where the mother and father typically would live in the main house and vice versa.
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
depends on the needs of the family.
But in this case, if he's gonna live in the LLI, anyone can live in the main house. It doesn't have to be family or an owner then, is that what we're saying?
I believe he would have to
Be on the
be
deed.
related.
They have to be
Yeah,
related.
it can't be rented, it has to be
So-
a relation.
Yeah.
If you want to read it, I read the bylaw if you want to.
Sure, please.
Yeah. So it is said, limited accessory apartment, an area contained within an owner occupied as existing, in parentheses, as of the date of the application. Single-family dwelling unit that maintained internal access and circulation to the dwelling unit, and which is restricted to extended family members, consisting of provision for bathing, cooking, and sleeping. The inclusion of the apartment within the single-family dwelling unit does not convert to a single-family dwelling to a two-family dwelling, from a single to a two. And just to finish, internal walls and doors for purposes of privacy and additional means of access egress are not precluded. The apartment shall be ancillary, subordinated in size, location, and function to the single-family dwelling.
Owner occupier and immediate.
Right, so when he filled out the deed, when
He
his
became the
name-
owner, but
Right.
anyone living in the limited accessory or vice versa has to be related to him as the owner.
Correct.
So he's the owner, occupier.
Right.
And then they have to have a relative to
It's
him
gonna-
living.
It's gonna live in the accessory apartment or the home.
Vice versa, yeah.
So, an owner has to live in both sides of this structure, or
Just one.
Just one.
Okay,
So the
so,
part.
so someone not related to him could go live in the main house now that he's,
Both parties have to be related always, but one of the parties has to be an owner.
Yes,
okay, so in both dwellings, relatives have to reside?
yes.
Correct.
That is correct,
But they
okay.
do not have to be the owners. No, the one has to be an owner.
One,
has to be an
that's what I'm
owner.
trying to, yes.
So in the main house, another family member could move there,
Yes,
but it couldn't just be some
random person, no.
Right.
Okay.
And that is documented too. They have to explain who's living there to.
Well,
Every
on-
2 years is
once,
a renewal
once
for
you
that?
once you approve, it just become a legal binding decision. So I don't have the right to question who lives in the house because they already changed the deed that he is co-owner of the home.
Yeah.
So I cannot question
But it's understood, if
Yes.
anyone were to say,
Yes.
call to inquire at a later date, you understand, anyone else living in any
Yes.
portion needs to be related to your son,
To us,
either
yeah.
however.
Mhm. Yes.
Our bylaws require relation to the owner of the property.
Yes.
So 195-615, LLAs shall not be rented to or occupied by persons who do not qualify as extended family members. And that, I think that's renewed every other year?
I think it's every
Well,
3 years for what I was reading. Either
Looks
2
like
or
you're
3.
thinking something.
Well, if they, let's say that they sell the apartment, the house, the new owner has to come in and resubmit an application just to register the apartment under their name.
But if they don't sell, do they have to come back every 3 years to?
No, it is my understanding that's not how it works.
I thought that was the deal, but I could be wrong. I thought there was
I think it's
a renewal. It might come from
yeah, the renewal.
Trish. She may ask for it, maybe in the census it's asked for it, I don't know.
Is it an inspection every 3 years?
No. It's just, it is my understanding, just when they, like, let's say they sell the house, the new owner have to come in and apply to register the apartment, the LLA apartment to their name.
We have no problem coming back and renewing, but I'm also under the impression that you do need to renew every 2 to 3 years.
Section is that? 195?
This is 195.
195-61, and
They do have to register in the
there's a
regis-
bit of
re- re-
verbiage.
register
The
of deeds.
applications must contain the names of the persons being submitted, that will reside. 19561G.
So there's a use restriction. To ensure continued compliance with owner occupancy and other bylaw requirements by the current as well as any subsequent owners, LLAs permitted under this bylaw shall be subject to use restrictions to be recorded in the Registry of Deeds. The use restriction is to be provided by the building inspector, shall only be the form acceptable, and shall include the following. Notice that the existence of the LA is predicated upon occupants by the owner or the owner's extended family to whom the permit has been issued. Notification to a buyer of the LAA bylaw.
E.
On sale of the property, they're required to file a new application. Within 30 days of receipt of a letter from the building inspector determining a violation, a special permit shall be sought for a continuation of the LLA. And if that fails to happen, the LLA shall be discontinued. The permit shall automatically lapse and be null and void. Dwelling remains a single family and the LLA cannot be rented to persons who are not extended family members. So I guess that's the proof, is the Registry of Deeds.
The bylaw gives if there's any complaint, the bylaw gives him, the inspector, the right to go in and inspect and verify if there's any complaint filed, so.
But as in any complaint.
Yeah.
Right.
May I clarify something? So with the LLA application, the applicant has already signed off on the limited accessory apartment use restrictions. That form was also submitted with the application stamped by the town clerk, and therefore, if they receive a decision in favor, when they register that at the Registry of Deeds, the land use restrictions, which list off all of the do's and don'ts of the limited apartment, is also included as part of the recordation with the Registry of Deeds.
So that
And
gets
that's-
recorded as well.
Yes, and that summarizes what's,
What's in the list.
You know, the names of the people
they have
who are
already-
living there on that?
That
Yes.
should be listed.
It's It's submission requirements, number 3, the names of the owner and the persons proposed to reside in the limited accessory apartment are
Yeah, so as
required.
long as that's on the application.
Limited to 2 occupants as well, in the LLA.
Right.
That isn't specified on the form that we have for the use restrictions. However, I'm sure that form can be updated so that we include that.
Right, because it is part of the zoning bylaw.
Yep.
So administration of that will be by Jose and through the Registry of Deeds. Further questions? Seeing none? Charlie, did you want to?
My computer, locked up and I don't have the numbers in front of me, sorry.
How'd you like this?
Oh,
Is that what you're
okay,
looking for?
okay, yeah, I am, thank you very much. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion, Brian. A motion to approve the limited access apartment at 8 Coolidge Street, contingent on the, plans that we received, plus the letters being read into the decision.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
Yep.
Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
What did we just, I thought that I was for closing the meeting. That was the, oh, that was the motion?
That was
Yeah,
a
we
motion by
closed the
Charlie. We
meeting.
did close the
We
meeting.
closed it, yeah.
Carry on.
We have a new public hearing, 70 Hunt Road, John Glennie, for a special permit, variance, sections 195-8C and/or 195-9, for construction of a front vestibule and porch that will not meet the required 40-foot front yard setback. Parcel is in the residential B district. Pull that up, that'd be awesome. Good evening. If I could have your name and address for the record? Why
John Glennie, 70 Hunt Road.
don't you tell us a little bit about what you want to do, John?
So we're proposing remodel of the house. We're adding a garage off to the side of it, and adding kind of a front farmer's porch with a vestibule to be used as the new main entrance to the house. The only non-conforming part of the structure, as far as I'm aware, is the vestibule and front porch area. The rest of the addition, including the side setbacks, meets requirements.
So you have a porch there now that is really not going to be exceeded?
We basically have cement steps.
Yeah.
I believe this would come out a little bit further than the steps do.
Trying to see, it's an RB district.
I highlighted the area on the screen for everyone to see.
Do we have Jose's denial letter?
Yes.
So let's see what the setbacks should be.
40 frontage,
40.
40 frontage.
40-foot on an RV.
It's on one of those plans.
Existing would be a pre-existing non-conforming.
For the stairs, it would be.
For the house proper, it's 30.9 plus 7.6, so 38.5. Correct?
I'm sorry, are you reading?
So the setback to the edge of the porch is 30.9. 30.9.
There's a 30.6 on there as well, at the bottom.
Would this be a tilt to the house or something?
Right, just not parallel to Hunt Road.
Tiny bit.
But in either case, including the 7'6", we don't reach 40, so it's a pre-existing non-conforming lot?
You mean to the edge of the stairs?
Not to the house,
To-
30.6.
Yeah, well, I'm going by what they provided in the information.
30.6 plus 7.6 gets you to the house.
And that's
And
not
still
40.
40. So you're saying the house is already non-conforming. So that's 38.2 if you add those two up.
I see.
So you're saying the house is non-conforming, the steps is more non-conforming, but the house already is non-conforming.
So would that lead us to a special permit?
Because it's already non-conforming?
But we are increasing the non-conformity.
By what, 7?
7'6". If you don't
Nine.
count the steps that are there now,
7,
which I think
9.
is typical.
7, 9? It'd be 7.6 plus 3 inches.
Right. It says 30.9 inches, so I'm not sure if they're in points or inches.
30.9 feet.
30 feet, 9
.9
Oh,
puts it
30
in
30
tenths.
feet
When
in
it's a
inches,
decimal,
yeah.
it puts it in tenths instead of inches. So it's got 30.9 feet, which is a little confusing. So I'm not sure what scale this is in.
Here,
1 inch equals
30
30 feet.
1 to 30? But that's not,
He's got
So it's 3 inches, 2 inches difference.
if you have a point, a decimal.
yeah.
But he also has the inch indicator saying it's 30.6 inches.
Is that an inch?
So on the short end, you'd be increasing the nonconformity 7.3, right?
Can't tell.
Right.
Well, it depends.
0.9 feet is 11 inches, or 10.8.
I can't.
I think where we're increasing the nonconformity, this is a variance.
Frontage required 150 feet, what?
The frontage.
40 feet, proposed 30.6.
Sorry, Brian, what is your concern again?
I was just trying to understand whether, where it's
Whether it's a
already
variance or a
pre-existing non-conforming, it would not need a variance, but a special permit. But I think we're increasing the non-conformity, so it is a variance.
It is a variance.
Yeah, okay. I just didn't want to have to go through the exercise if I didn't understand it.
So you're doing a whole farmer's porch, not just the vestibule? It's coming all the
Yeah,
way?
so the vestibule will be the new main entrance to the house.
Okay.
There'll be a door off the side of that that leads to the porch.
That's what, okay.
So the trick is the hardship with a variance. If it's a special permit, we don't need a hardship. If it's a variance, it's a little more challenging, because we need a hardship for it, and it's based on 3 factors, the topography, soil conditions, and lot shape, neither of which really seem to apply here.
Unless the house was built before 56, which, right? Which I'm guessing it's not.
I think it was in the 60s.
It's not on here.
So I'm sorry, can you explain what a hardship is?
You need a reason based on 3 points: topography, soil conditions, or lot shape. If your lot is so shaped that you can't put the house somewhere else, that would be a qualifier. I'm just having a hard time understanding what the hardship for a variance would be for your house. Having the porch doesn't concern me. I think we'll hear from anyone that wants to speak in favor or against it. I just think it's a challenge to grant a variance for a porch without a valid hardship. Well, we can read the letters in and see how it goes. Are there any questions before I read the letters? Or do you want me to read them and then I can ask? 70 Hunt Road addition. Dear members of the board, this officer reviewed the proposal for an addition at 70 Hunt Road and finds the following. The entire home, existing and new construction, shall be equipped with life safety systems as required by 780 CMR 51, standard for new construction at the time of application for a building permit. The home shall have hardwired, interconnected smoke, carbon monoxide, and heat detectors in all required locations. The applicant shall upload a plan showing all life safety devices to their building permit application. This office would approve of this addition with these conditions, and I ask that the board make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully submitted, Danielle Kostofis, Captain, Chelmsford Fire Department. A letter from the town engineer with no comments. A letter from the Board of Health with no comments. And a letter from the engineer with no comments. And the police also have no comments. There's no questions with that. Ask anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor or opposition to this application. Step to the podium and speak if you would.
Brian, can I comment on something?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if the applicant gets a 20% reduction on frontage, and then if they cut 2 feet frontage, would that help them?
It would get us down to the 20 feet, which would be nice. If you can shrink the,
Down to 20 feet, what is this?
No.
32.
32 feet.
oh, right, it's 40, I'm sorry, I'm thinking 25.
So that will bring them to 32 feet, and then they will be short
To add
2 feet.
13 inches, because they're at 30.9, so they need a foot and,
Plus or
It's
minus.
still increasing non-conformity to non-conformity.
but it's from a variance to a
But
special
you still have,
permit.
you'll have the 20%. That doesn't, the 20% will give us a special permit. So if the proposed porch was 32 feet away instead of the 30.9,
0.9.
you would conform and be able to get a special permit.
Okay.
If you want to get this redrawn and see if that will work for you, if it's enough space for you to make it work,
Okay.
you could come in, we can continue this, and you can come back and get a special permit for it.
Okay.
Be a lot less problematic than, because a variance is, it's just really difficult without a cause,
Gotcha.
without a hardship. With that being said, I'll leave the hearing open, and we'll continue it. If that makes
Does he want
sense.
to make that consideration? Are you open to reviewing that?
I mean, I'd have to talk to the architect. I don't have any immediate issues that I would see with that. I'm not sure. I guess my one concern would be for that door going onto the side of the porch, if that would give us enough width to have the door going out onto that porch. I don't have I would think that's probably you would need a minimum of 3 feet, 4 feet there. So,
Yeah, 4 feet would be a good number.
Yeah.
3 foot is a standard door.
yeah.
You want a little room to breathe there, a 6-inch wall.
But see, because the house bumps out on the side, so the porch is gonna be more narrow on one side than it is on the other, so he's like on the narrower side. Like the porch is designed to be 7.6 feet wide, but on that side, it's not gonna be.
Oh, it does say
7.6, it's gonna be
5.6 feet on the
Yeah, it's gonna be
proposed.
5.6.
So if you subtract, what did you say, 2 feet,
Need about a foot and a half, I
foot and a
think.
half,
So you'd be just at 4.
just at 4? Yeah. So I think this is probably the more ideal layout for us, but I understand if that can't happen because we don't have a hardship, so.
It's challenging. I mean, there's a board here, and we'd vote on it, but I wouldn't think there's a great chance of having it pass without a hardship. And I think there is a way you may need to work with the architect a little to figure it out. If that area maybe becomes an open porch as opposed to stairs don't count, so maybe you do an extended stair. There's options. I think your architect could steer you in a direction that would get you to comply with a special permit.
Okay.
So maybe we wait and see what he comes up with.
We can do that.
If I could get a motion for a continuance till June 2nd?
Motion to continue till June 2nd.
Second.
Second, Aaron, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next hearing is 72 Parkerville Road. Marie Burke, looking for a variance, section 195-9A, for the construction of a detached garage that will not meet the rear setback and any other relief that is deemed necessary. Good evening.
Good evening.
I can get your name and address for the record.
Sure. I'm Kelly Marie Burke, and this is my husband, Kevin Burke. We're at 72 Parkerville Road.
Thank you. Tell us a little bit about what you'd like to.
Sure. We're here today seeking a rear setback variance for a detached garage addition. It's a 15-foot rear setback that we're seeking for, because we have an oddly shaped yard, plot of land, that we would be accessing from 74 Parkerville driveway.
So I was reading that, yeah.
Yeah.
How is that gonna work? You would have deeded access?
Yeah, we actually, we have an easement with the new owners.
It's recorded easement.
It is recorded, yeah.
That is,
So we do have unusual lot shape going in your favor,
Yes.
which is helpful.
is that the,
Would you consider that an unusual lot shape, just because it's so thin,
Yeah,
I guess? It's so narrow?
right.
Is this the one next to 4-H?
Yep.
These are the two that we splitted?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, this looks
Yeah.
very familiar.
we're,
Oh, yeah, okay. I know what this is. So, yep. Okay. Have you seen it since this is the one we split
I have not seen it.
last year? I've seen your, nice house.
thank you. We love it.
But you're right, the access is very unusual.
Yes.
I mean, this is really tough. There's a 20-foot utility easement to the left.
There is nowhere else.
No.
You said there's a driveway there already? Is that it?
So yes, with the new construction of 74 Parkerville Road, they added a driveway to the right of our property. So we will now have shared access.
But, so setbacks is 30, they're looking for 15 feet.
Why would they put a driveway here? What was that going to?
I think it's their choice to
Yeah,
put it there, yeah.
Because there's one on the left too, but that goes to the rear of the house, right? On the left side
Correct,
of yours?
but there's a deeded access easement for the property at
is not
7th
very-
Lane.
Very
So
curious,
we are being respectful of the easement, and we're,
So they meet the side.
But the road is parallel, the one next to 4H, that's for the
This is
house
what's-
behind you, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then you have your access is on the right side, next to 7th Lane.
correct.
So is there a reason why the garage couldn't move to the left, further away from the property line?
Move to the left half.
Closer to the existing dwelling?
Yeah.
It would
'Cause
move
you're-
closer to their house.
Is that the reason you don't want it closer to the house, or?
To take up yard space, it would come over too much where it would then be.
Right.
Because they don't have
Just because of the
much.
shape of the lot and the way that it would sit in the yard, it would just aesthetically, and just the way the shape of the yard, because it's at an angle in the back, it just, to make it sit straight, just wouldn't be.
It would narrow on the sides and then the back lot goes in at an angle.
I'm good, I've seen, I know where they're at. Because you guys have a chain link out there too, right?
We do, yep. So there is, fence around our property.
Yeah, it pitches down.
Brian, we do have the shape of the lot and topography to.
Yeah, no, I think there's a reasonable argument there.
It's a topography.
I think we wouldn't be doing our diligence if we didn't consider moving it forward, but it is a really
Easement.
difficult lot.
If
I
you've
mean,
ever,
it's,
if you ever go out there and see it, it does pitch too. So it's kind of odd. It's very odd. And then they altered it. What is topography?
Yeah, that's the topography. I guess that's like lot shape.
Elevation?
Elevation, topography is if it
yeah,
drops
that's
off.
topography,
Yeah,
certainly, yeah.
elevation. That's what I mean by pitch. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Like downward towards
Yeah.
towards the pond.
right. So it goes down and drops off. So that's
Oh, I haven't
considered
seen the back of it.
topographical issues.
All right, well, everybody can look at this for a minute. I'm going to read the letters in. Dear members, the office reviewed the project application, plans, and documents submitted to the DPW on April 26, 2022 for 72 Parkerville Road. Parkerville Road is under a moratorium until 2025. Pavement cuts within the public right-of-way until after 2025 are not permitted. I do not believe that applies in this case.
No.
I have a letter from the Fire Prevention Office, and thankfully it's short. There are no comments. Thank you, Danielle. There are no comments from the police, and the Board of Health has no comments. So I'll open this up to the audience if someone would like to speak.
I do have a letter from,
Okay.
I don't know if you ever got it, but it's from the former owner, Quality Green Homes. I can read it if you like, or
Sure.
pass it to you.
You want to take it?
No, I'll let you read
There
it.
you go.
All right, so it says, to the Board of Appeals, as present owner of 74 Parkerville Road, I am in receipt of the abutters notification for request for Kelly Mae Burke for variance to construct a 32 by 28 detached garage at 72 Parkerville Road. Please note that Quality Green Homes LLC built Ms. Burke's home and also built the home at 74 Parkerville Road, both in Chelmsford. Ms. Burke is a very nice person and was a pleasure to work with in selling her home. She will be an asset to the community. As the current owner of 74 Parkerville Road, soon to be sold to the O'Connells, please be aware that I support Ms. Burke's application for the variance as an appropriate location for this accessory structure. You should also know that there will be a full recorded easement and use agreement on the driveway to 74 Parkerville Road between the owners of 72 and 74 Parkerville Road, and was drafted by my attorney for them to both sign and record. Thank you for your fair consideration. Sincerely, Jeffrey A. Brem.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor or opposition to this application?
How are you tonight? My name is Gary Baker, 24 7th Lane, and I'd like to speak in opposition to the applicant's proposal. As far as the hardship on the property, I have no idea why we need to impede on the back lot line. It happens to be 95 feet between the proposed location of this garage that I want to point out is 32 by 28, kind of a large garage. I see absolutely no reason why it can't be moved closer to their residence and meet the requirements of the setbacks. Okay.
Noted.
Can I ask a question? Where's
Oh,
20
absolutely.
Sorry, sir. Sir,
Gary?
sorry, is 24, or maybe you can answer, 24 7th, is that at the end of 7th Lane?
You are at the end of you're at the end of
At
7th Lane. on the
24
loop.
7th Lane, we
Is-
live behind the property?
Behind the property at the end of 7th Lane on the pond? On the
That's
pond
correct.
side, okay.
And 7th Lane is actually my driveway,
Okay, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's, you know, when this lot was,
Have an
when this
easement
lot
for
was
7th Lane
created,
as well?
this lot was created in 1999. And when the lot was created, there was no access to the back of the lot. And when it came in front of the board, there was no access to the back of this lot. The only access to the lot was from Parkerville Road. That was one of the things that we found favorable when we agreed to the subdivision of this property. So I just want to point that out to the board. I'm a little surprised that there's a change in access and without going in front of the board again. I'm not sure if that's even legal, but, you know, I'm not a lawyer, so I would defer to town council on that one. But it seems to me it's a change from what was granted in the original variance.
So where you're located, are you behind this garage
I am to the left.
to the
Yep.
left? Okay.
See
So
says-
what's
lot two-
being called as a utility easement is actually my driveway.
No,
Yeah,
it's
so the
yours,
goes-
it's also 274,
Yes.
which is directly behind.
Which is a
And,
new,
do
which is
you
a
have an
new.
easement to 7th Lane? I'm just trying to understand it. I know it's,
Hmm?
you do.
What was
He's the house
question?
right there.
Because you used
On the
7th Lane
water.
as your,
That's him right there, right, Mr. Gary? Where the hand is?
At the bottom of the screen in the middle?
Towards the water,
Oh, okay.
Is that you?
That's by,
Yes, that's correct.
yeah.
end of 7th Lane.
No, there's another house. It's not, you don't see it on there, but to the left of that,
There's a brand new
there's another
house
house.
directly
Right
there's a
there,
brand
there
new
is a
house
brand new house in
directly
there.
behind it.
yeah, so
And
do you and that house have
the
easements
folks have just
100%?
closed on the property 2 days ago or 3 days ago.
And the garage
They-
is up in the green
Garage
section.
is, yes,
Yes.
the garage is in that area
How do
there.
they access 7th Lane? They must have easements also.
From Parkerville.
Everybody. Yeah, but it's like legally, do they have legal easements to 7th Lane, this gentleman and the new house, the new owners that are there? They must all have easements.
So our frontage at 72, frontage is on Parkerville Road.
Otis.
And that is where we get our frontage. 74, the frontage was created on Parkerville Road during the creation of this lot and 74 Parkerville Road. And at that time, the only access to the lot was from Parkerville Road. The proposal prior to this one had 3 structures on this one
I
parcel.
remember that for sure.
And that was what we were opposed to. And it seems that we're back in that realm again.
Structures, even though they're not homes.
This one being 32 by 28.
What's a standard two-car, 24?
Standard, this would be a 2-car. It's a big garage.
Brian, should we go take a site walk or something? What do you think?
I think that'd be okay with me.
We'll just do it at our.
Try to get a
pace.
visual of it. I mean, I'm struggling to understand, as Mr. Baker, being in a butter, has concerns why it can't comply, or at least go for a special permit, rather than the variance.
How far would it have
Lot
to
shape
move?
is a factor, but so we're
What is the
detriment to the
required
neighborhood.
rear setback? What is the required?
15?
30, I believe.
Oh, 30.
So if it moved
30 is correct? Yeah. So it could move 15 feet forward, and they could do it by right.
Well, it's
It could
20%.
move, yeah, then
9
they
feet
would
further
get a
back?
special permit.
If it moved 9 feet, it would be a special permit. Could put at 24.
Correct.
Is access a consideration? 'Cause I'm just trying to- If they're all coming in
mean-
through 7th Lane, like, is that considered like? a
No,
driveway?
no, they're not. They're not coming from 7th Lane.
Oh, your driveway goes,
Deeded access for the Bakers at 7th Lane. Nobody uses 7th Lane but the Bakers.
oh, okay, so you're gonna drive in through your driveway on that side, on the other side of the house?
74 Parkerville
Yeah.
has their own
next,
Right here.
and it runs
Okay.
next to, yeah.
So that's how you would come into
We have
it.
an easement with them now.
Oh, okay, thank
No one
you.
is driving up 7th.
Okay, I thought your easement was down
No.
the 7th. Gotcha, thank
It's a
you.
moot point.
I gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense.
See, this is what they.
Highlight that area.
Yeah, I say she's
Yeah.
gonna highlight.
That's the
that.
baker's driveway.
It's the panhandle.
They'd be coming
No,
in
this
this
is
way to
the
pull in,
easement
yeah.
for.
Okay.
This way.
the-
Off Parkerville.
Yes,
This
yes,
way.
yeah, yeah.
They're driving
Okay.
next to 4-H, because that property to the left is the 4-H
Private
property.
driveway up to their house. You can zoom out.
This
so
would
much
be
there.
their entrance here to the.
Right, so they're proposing, what they're saying is that they have a deeded easement agreement with the owners, the landowner back here
Yep.
for the new home, and they'll be sharing, this is their driveway, but they'll be sharing that driveway.
Mr. and Mrs.
going to
Burke.
the proposed garage.
Well, would you like?
If you don't, I just want to ask them a question. I didn't want to talk through you, sir. I'm sorry. What is your feeling of reducing by 9 feet to make it a special permit as opposed to a variance?
To come into the property 9 feet?
Or do a half and half, reduce the size of your garage? Because a typical 2-car is 24 by 24, maybe, and then bring it in slightly so we could get you under the 20%, which would give you a special permit as opposed to a variance, and that the requirements for granting is.
We're not opposed to that.
So we get if you're at 32,
24.
24 feet from your property line.
And in fairness, I mean, Mr. Baker, would you be comfortable if they approach for a special permit? You still have rights as an abutter, of course. They would theoretically, I don't assume you plan on reducing the size of the structure. You may, but they would be 9 feet farther from your property than they are now.
We're
not on his property.
We're not on his property at all. We're more than 250 feet
You're
away
within
from
the
his
setbacks.
property.
Right, but it's not his
It's not
property.
his.
He's not
understand that.
It's
behind.
not his
I misspoke.
property.
It's still his,
He's 250 feet away from the property line.
Right.
he is an abutter.
I know he's
We
an abutter, but
understand he's an
not.
abutter.
The way he was talking was like.
It's
he
not
was-
his property that is affected by that.
Right, exactly.
The
I
closest
misspoke.
home that's affected is 74 Parkerville.
And I know they're comfortable with that.
Yes.
Absolutely. I have the recorded deed right here.
The 74
The
isn't the house that's
easement.
behind them on the pond, the new
Yes.
house.
This is the house behind.
Oh, I thought, but that hasn't been sold yet.
Yeah, it
That's
is
the-
sold.
It is
I think it was
sold.
just passed a
It
couple
It was
days
sold.
ago.
But
We
the
have
letter
an,
that you have is from the,
I have the easement for from the new owners right here. It has been
If
recorded.
it was, either way, when it was recorded, it becomes, it can transfer. It doesn't go away because they sold the house. I don't know when they did it, doesn't really matter. Really thinking that it's getting a little murky, and the sidewalk is probably a good idea. So if we could set up a sidewalk and do that, we could probably be in and out of there pretty quickly and at least get a visual of what's going on and try to understand how imposing it may be.
And Mr. Gary, if they were willing to cut down to a 20%, bring it in slightly, reduce your size slightly to cover the 9 feet difference, would that be more amenable to you?
I would prefer that the board took a sidewalk and saw that there's really no reason to.
Okay, I mean, yeah, we're going to definitely do the site walk. I was
Also,
just,
I'm hoping that I can get a explanation from town council as to how the variance got changed, the conditions of the variance.
Yeah, you could speak with him about that. I'm probably not at this venue, but I don't know, I'm not sure I understand what conditions are concerning to you.
Well, when the original variance was granted, there was no access from either side of the property. It was only from Parkerville Road. So it seems to me it's a change in use from the variance that was granted.
Mr. Haverty, would you care to?
but the owner
There's still only
the
the
owner has right to deed over his, the owner of the property has right
They're
to.
certainly entitled to grant an easement in any situation, whether they had a variance or not. It's
Okay. I just-
post-variance, if you
Something I
would.
wanted to have clarified.
Ask him
Well,
about our property.
I would, if Mr. Haverty has an opinion, hope he would opine.
Yep, sure. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Town Council Paul Haverty. When the board issues a variance, that variance is issued with plans presented. So any change to those plans would require a modification of that variance. That has not happened as of yet.
So they would have to come before us to modify it for the easement, even though it is recorded.
I don't think they would need to do it for the easement. I think they would need to do it for the structure because and I'm searching back to when this was before you previously, I don't recall there being a garage shown on the plans that the
I believe you're
board.
right, I do not recall one.
So the fact that they're adding a garage to the plans that were previously approved would require a modification of the previously issued variance.
Regardless of the easement or not. just
Yeah, the easement is
Even though it's
irrelevant.
new owners and it's accessory and it's, well, these are new owners. These weren't the originals.
It would
Sure,
be
but,
variance.
but the variance runs with the land, and the need for the modification would also run with the land.
And the limitation was for limiting to 2 single-family homes, not
Mhm.
2 buildings. So that would still apply to an accessory building?
Well, what it would require is that they actually, and they have, submitted plans to you. You would review those plans, and you would make the determination as to whether or not it's really a substantial modification of the previously issued variance, or whether it's de minimis.
So if they had the setback, they'd still be in front of us.
They would still be in front of you, but it may make a difference as to your determination as to whether or not.
It's a modification as
think
opposed
that-
to a new variance or a special permit, as the case may be.
Correct, yes.
So, just to add, there's no way they could just build this by right then, based on the previous variance?
Correct. When the board issues a variance, the variance is limited to the plans that were accompanying that, that application. That is what is being approved by the board.
So it restricts any building of any structure without.
Approval by the
without-
board.
That hadn't been shown on those
Updated
previous
variance.
plans, right.
So
the
in
res-
perpetuity as well, at 10 years from now,
Correct.
So every
It runs with
owner
the
has
deed.
to know that when they purchase, any modifications they want to make to anything on
It would
that
come
has
up
to
with
come
a-
in front of
Well,
us?
yeah, the variance would come up on the
Title search.
title search, right, so they would know that a variance had been issued. The case law is pretty clear that, a variance is limited to the plans that were approved, for the variance. So I don't think that the quantum of, what you need to review is quite as high on a modification of a previously issued variance. You've already made the determination, that there was a hardship that related to soil conditions, lot shape, or topography. But you just need to make a determination that whatever is being proposed is consistent with what was previously approved, and formally, acknowledge that variance is being modified.
One more for my clarification. When I said they couldn't build this by right, I want to make sure, even if they pulled it within all the setbacks.
They would still need to modify that previously issued variance.
Okay.
Even if what is changing on the plans is something that wouldn't, in and of itself, require relief, because there was a variance necessary to develop this property in the first place,
Okay.
then any change to it requires a modification of that variance.
Thank you. It's a variance, not a special permit.
Even new owner, new builder, new everything, 50 years from now,
Correct.
Good point.
always
this-
going to need to come in front.
Right.
So this whole process, them filing for this variance, needs to wash, and they need to go back and file for a.
No.
No, I mean,
No, they're doing
there's
that.
been sufficient notice that somebody's looking
Right.
to get a variance to do what is being proposed. I think that is sufficient for notice that there's going to be a modification of what was
But it wouldn't be-
previously
We
issued.
wouldn't be issuing a new variance.
Yeah,
we'd be
you wouldn't need to
modifying.
renotice the public hearing, you
But
wouldn't
it
need to
has to
issue.
be a variance, not a special permit.
Well, there has to be a modification,
To the variance.
but you can still also grant the special permit.
Okay.
And acknowledge a modification to the previous issued variance.
Correct, exactly.
It's not giving a variance, it's legally acknowledging the modification to the previous issued variance and
Correct.
granting a special permit.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Or variance.
Or
variance,
variance, yes,
right.
I'm sorry. Got it.
Okay?
Tracking.
Thank you.
It's good, listen.
Okay, so then we're gonna do a site walk, does
So,
that make
yeah,
sense?
Sidewalk. And we'll sidewalk and then,
We can still
What is-
continue to June 2nd
okay.
for the meeting, but we should think a little about,
We gonna do independently or wanna meet as a group?
Independently.
yeah, okay.
I don't know.
So at some point before,
Unless you'd prefer us all to meet at once. I don't,
whenever
And
you-
your property.
However you want. I work from home, so. I'm
It's your
flexible.
house, so.
So we're
You're welcome
okay to enter the
anytime.
property without notice? Are you comfortable with that, or you
That's
want to?
fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that, well, we're not gonna like enter their yard. I don't know if you
We do
wanna,
have dogs that are out there once in a while, so.
I'm definitely not gonna enter their yard then.
They're nice.
Little French
If
If you
bulldog.
see an unfamiliar car pull into your
Do
driveway,
we
you
need
should
to
know what
enter,
it
do
is.
we need someone to be there to have like full visual of the area? Probably
We'd
not.
prefer to be there, so.
Okay, so why don't we do it as a group then?
So
They're
we
not
should
gonna
plan a
make-
day then.
Make an appointment.
with them, yeah.
What is a good day for this?
You'll be getting calls from all the neighbors. There's people wondering about
Right.
in your yard.
Someone's trying to break into your house.
I think we could do 9 o'clock in the morning.
Holy crap.
What is a good time? You tell me when is a good time.
Are we doing it on the weekend, during the week?
Ideally, a weekend, I think, for everybody's easier. Right? What makes sense? I know there's moms here that have schedules, so let me know what you think.
I mean, a weekend's fine, any day we can make it work.
Weekend of the 20th looks good for me.
Sometime in the double digits.
Weekend of the 20th?
No, I just
21st?
meant like time, like 10 o'clock or later, double digits, hours.
So the 20th in May is a Friday.
21st.
21st?
I can do that, or the 22nd. I can do, yeah, either.
Why don't we do Saturday, Billy? 10 o'clock, do you have time for your coffee? And
I won't be-
10
I
o'clock in
won't
the
have
morning on Saturday, the 21st
Of May,
May.
10 a.m. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll be planning a meeting again June 2nd
June 2nd, okay.
at 7 PM.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need to?
So we'll need a motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to continue, I'm sorry, I don't have my,
72 Parker.
70, thank you. I'll make a motion to continue 72 Parkerville Road until June 2nd. Anyone
I
second?
second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Just trying to get this down before I lose track of everything. Technology is not my friend.
We're good.
So it's continued.
I don't believe the office received a copy of the letter
give it
from
to you.
74 Parker, if you wouldn't mind. Did you also forward a copy of the easement agreement? Yes, I recorded. Thank you. I have a copy. I'll add it to your file. Thank you.
Pretty sure this is
Great. No, that's okay.
This is a tough
Thank you.
Okay.
So that's the 21st at 10 a.m., right?
Yeah, thank you.
It's 10 a.m., not
10 a.m.
just making sure.
Unless I'm
Steve's
making
tracking.
margaritas, 10 a.m.
Is that Eastern time or?
There's so
Steven
many.
time?
Oh, no.
Yep, yeah, I appreciate it.
What's her name?
Becky.
Okay, just making sure. I thought you called her something else
Isn't that
earlier.
Jackie? Okay, so 4 Wildwood Street is our next public hearing. Jack Fletcher, Wildwood Street Realty Trust, is looking for a variance, section 195-9, lot area and lot depth, and any other relief deemed necessary for the creation of a buildable lot. Parcel is in the residential B district. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Douglas Hausler, representing petitioners, the Fletcher family. Jack Fletcher, the former athletic director of the high school, and his 2 sisters, are the current owners through the trust. I think this is one of your easier one tonight's. This exact application for a variance was allowed in 1998. There is not a single changed circumstance from what was previously allowed to what we're asking for tonight. And that board in 1998 found that there was a hardship. So we're just asking, not one single condition has changed.
Yep.
So we're just asking you to reaffirm that so that they can go forward and build a house, a modest home on a 15,000 square foot lot, which is substantially larger than most of them in the neighborhood. It's the combination of 6 and 10 together.
So it's these two.
11 was the existing single-family home that's been there for decades, and that Mr. Fletcher Sr., Irwin, lived in. And I believe even the grandfather of Jack lived before that, great-grandfather. It goes back generations. So the lot was on parcel 11, has been sold. Mr. Fletcher Irwin, age 99, just passed away about, I guess, a year or so ago in March. He got a variance to allow 10 and 6 to be combined as one buildable lot back in 1998. Board voted unanimously for it. Nothing is changing. So I'm asking you just reaffirm the decision. I think Paul's comment just earlier was the exact same conditions are entirely consistent with what the prior board did on this exact application. So I'm not asking you to reverse any board findings. I'm asking you just affirm it.
And it is a new creation, because that is null and void, is that correct? Just to understand
It
it.
was recorded, it was issued, it was recorded, but Mr. Fletcher Irwin, I'll call him, at age, he held on to it for so long, he was elderly. He thought once he recorded the variance, he was good. And he died at age 99. He wasn't thinking about niceties of, I have to act on it and pull a building permit within 2 years. He didn't do that. But the board granted him the variance in 98. It's a separate stub. You have a letter from the sewer commissioner. They paid for it. Board of Health had no changes. Every town department that spoke about this acknowledges this was always deemed a buildable lot. There's really nothing being changed here.
And I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole, but how is the sewer going to work with this? Are they,
There's a stub there.
they have a sub, so by right, they're connected.
They're already in. It says it in the sewer commission letter.
Because he had it put in after the variance was granted.
Yes,
I saw the receipt.
I don't even know.
you should have a letter from the sewer department on
Yeah,
that.
it's on it's,
So it's 6 and 10.
this is your sewer letter right here.
This is 11.
This is 6, and this is 10.
Yeah, I think that's how it goes, or whatever. the
Second,
number.
that's the one
So
showing the
they-
stub was installed
she's
after
Sorry,
that.
so
requesting
this-
it, but it's already there.
Guys, this single family is for Wildwood. This one that has the single family?
That's correct. Number 11,
And this is, okay, so that's number 4 Wildwood.
That was
and then
4,
number
that's-
6 and 8.
and now we're just combining 6 and 10.
6 and 10.
I mean,
And do we have a certified plot plan for this?
yes, you do.
Okay.
Yes.
This was always kind of treated like a single-family lot. These were allowed by variance in 1998 to be another single-family lot. It just never got built.
To be combined?
Yes, and
So
they are
there's,
being combined here.
and there's nothing built on them?
Nothing built on right this second, other than a sewer stub outside.
But there is on 4, the
Yes.
single family.
4 is gone, or what did you say, 4?
So there was a
I put my
variance,
parcel number.
there was a variance to combine them in 1998?
Yes, I've given you that material. It's the exact same thing, 15,000
Right,
square
yeah.
feet, 15,000 square feet. Dimensions, the same. Frontage, the same. Honestly, this shouldn't be this difficult. I'm just asking you to reaffirm what the board did in 1998. No more, no less.
You're making 2 smaller lots, 1 bigger lot.
Correct, correct.
Not asking for anything more.
So it's increasing conformity, closer to conformity.
Well, the board
We'll go
needs to
through the process here.
understand.
Are there any questions of the board, of the applicant?
Be reaffirmed if it was granted. And
So
because
it has a 3-year period where you must pull a
2 year.
building permit?
2 years.
2 years?
Oh, I see, the
And you
building permit's
can
never
apply
pulled.
for an
Thank you.
extension on that.
Right.
Come back to the board and
But
apply.
Irwin-
But that was not done.
Irwin didn't do it because of his age. He didn't understand it.
Yep. He thought he was done.
So the zoning relief,
The zoning relief was granted back in the decision. It's reflected in the recorded decision at the Registry of Deeds.
Oh, that's in the packet.
Just so we're clear, the
Yeah.
town's treated it like a buildable lot for 30 years.
but it's taxed separately. He's get 2 separate tax bills?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a letter from the town engineer, from the Board of Health. And it says, 4 Wildwood Street, Jack Fletcher, Wildwood Street Realty Trust, variance. What is she saying?
She just copied the.
Oh, I see, okay, so this goes to,
board right now.
from Sharon Boyer at
Sewer Department.
the DPW, I'm sure it is sewer as well. Jocelyn, per our conversation, our sewer map indicates that a sewer stub was left on lot 52-184-6 for future connection to the town sewer. I have attached the location of the sewer stub. In the event our map is incorrect and the stub was not left at this property, a lot can still be connected to the town sewer. This lot was in existence prior to the sewer moratorium of 2020, therefore exempt from its restrictions. Now we have a letter from anyone else?
Yep, go ahead.
Christine Clancy on,
And that was just sent this week, 2 days ago, and that reaffirms, question about the moratorium, but.
so the DPW has confirmed that the sewer stub exists, and therefore this parcel is exempt from the current sewer moratorium. New service shall be connected via gravity. Sewer grinder pumps are only considered by the town if there are no feasible solutions connecting to the main. Please contact the DPW for Highway Division for necessary permits within the right-of-way. We have no comments from the building commissioner. We have no comments from the police. And that is the end of my, oops, I'm sorry, the ever-faithful fire department. 4 Wildwood Street, dear members of the board, regarding the application to subdivide the lots at 4 Wildwood Street, the Chelmsford Fire Prevention Office offers the following comments. The Chelmsford Fire Prevention Office requests that this proposal is passed, the proponent make an application for addresses to the Town of Chelmsford E911 Committee and its chairperson, Town Clerk Tricia Juez. The fire prevention has no further concerns about this proposal and respectfully requests that the board make this letter part of the approval process. Respectfully, Danielle Kostafis, Captain, Chelmsford Fire Department. And that is the end of my letters. Any questions from the board regarding this?
There's the variance from 98. And what, I didn't actually see it in all the documents. What's the size of the combined lot?
15,000 square feet.
15, thank you.
Meets the frontage requirement of 150 feet, meets every dimensional requirement except lot area, which is the exact reason the variance was issued in 1998.
But it is more than the one to the left and the right of it.
It's
now,
more than
by
90%
5,000
of
feet.
that neighborhood. And by the way, just to be clear, my client walked around the neighborhood before we even filed, asking for a butter input. And to my knowledge, not a single abutter indicated it would be opposing this. Just so you know, we did seek neighborhood involvement.
4 and 3 are both under 15, right?
Yeah, I think they are 10 apiece.
Yeah, okay.
No, originally they were 5 lots of 5, I believe. This was a combination of a 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. They combined this into one. This was left as a 5 and a 10, and then he went for his variance. And he kept that particularly because at the time, they needed 150 feet of frontage. That's why he did it that way.
Any further questions at this time? Seeing none, I'm going to ask if anyone in the audience would like to speak in favor or opposition of this application. I can have your name and address?
John Toto, 5 Juniper Street.
Thank you. Maybe at the podium it'll be easier to.
John Toto, 5 Juniper. So my lot is the direct abutter to this property in question. It would be the lot with 9 at the end of it, to the left. I do have some concerns that the lot doesn't meet the square foot requirement in the RB zoning district, as well as the depth requirement. I'm also concerned that there's a drainage easement passing through that lot from my property, which may be impacted by the construction of a new home. It's my understanding that there's a 40,000 square foot minimum for this neighborhood.
There is a sewer easement in here. That's why the house is going to be located, still meeting every dimensional requirement, but away from the easement. So there won't be any construction activity anywhere close to the easement.
Does the lot meet the depth requirement?
Yes. It meets every requirement except lot area.
And what's the depth of the lot?
50 feet.
certified plot?
100 feet deep.
And what is the requirement in this zone?
What?
150 feet.
It's 150 feet? Thank you.
Right, but under the old variance from what he was
So
saying.
if it's 100
That's all approved.
and 50, then it doesn't meet the depth requirement.
I believe you're correct.
I believe that the zoning board's
For which one?
decision
The variance?
in 1998
Oh,
addressed all of
it's in the
those.
second link,
I just
page
refer you to that
25.
decision.
We're having a little trouble finding a certified plot plan, Doug. Is one available that you have?
Okay. So right now they're 100, 100. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is 150, this is 100. Okay.
Oh, so you already have a plan.
Have a chance to look at this, sir?
Yes, I
You
have.
liked it?
Yes.
Thank you.
100 feet, 150 feet. And the setback, so,
So you can see my property, John Toto, 5 Juniper Street.
okay.
Is,
Did he meet all the setbacks?
This one?
Correct.
Thank you.
25,
is yours
25,
also
30, 30.
150?
Yeah, this-
What you
By
see there is an
100?
envelope.
Uh,
You can build it.
That's correct. My lot is 150 by 100.
And there's still no setbacks. His isn't. Been in there.
Nice.
I'd also like to ask the board, if the lot is granted, does lot number 11 then become non-conforming with the existing single-family home?
I think lot number 11 is separate from all of
lot-
this.
That
number
that
11 is
doesn't
all-
have any
It's
effect on
already
this, I
an individual
believe.
lot.
Okay.
So your two concerns are the drainage easement and the depth of the lot.
That's correct. I recently purchased 5 Juniper about a year and a half ago, and one of the attractions to the property was the open space behind the lot. Being someone who is in the construction industry, I recognized that the lot behind me was unbuildable at the time of purchase.
Okay.
And yes, and yes, to address your concern, so what this is there's a catch basin on Juniper Street, as you see at the bottom of this plot plan. That catch basin collects stormwater from the road and directs it back to Wildwood Street. So it crosses under my property and under the property in question here. That drainage easement is a clay pipe. I can't guess at the age, but could be 80 years old. And I'm worried about the disturbance to that drain pipe with new construction happening.
Yeah, but if they disturb it or break it or damage it, they'd be responsible for fixing or repairing it. So in
That's-
essence, it'd
That's
probably be
fair.
beneficial.
My
if
concern's
it's an
fair,
old
and
patch.
and your point's fair.
I
Yep.
mean, beneficial if they actually were to break it, you get a new drain pipe.
I don't disagree.
So
Does it go under your home? Do you know?
No, so if you look at my property, it goes under my driveway.
Under your driveway?
Yep.
So you want to maintain where there's the lot with a -10
So-
as the open space, which they are planning on doing when they do their construction.
Correct. So as you can see, that lot line straddles my property between 10 and, is that 6?
Yep.
Right, so that's sort of the area of open space I was referring to.
The entire thing or just the -10?
As it currently stands, it's grass, there's an oak tree there. It's quite, attractive.
So
Does it
if,
look, I'm sorry, it looks like the proposed house is gonna be more to the left of your, is that, am I reading that correctly?
It is, it's,
Orientation?
where the proposed home is between 5 Juniper and 9 Juniper, you're correct.
So it won't be, okay.
As you see, the proposed house will be removing that 36-foot oak tree.
so if they didn't combine the two lots and they just kept them separate and they built on 6, Or what is 184-6?
They wouldn't have the side yard setback.
So they'd need a,
And the frontage, I believe, too, that's why he did it, right? The frontage was the,
You wouldn't have 150 feet of frontage. I mean, this has been approved, and that's certainly, to me, a factor in the entire mess. I think that it wasn't acted on, but it was approved.
is your driveway to the right or left of your home?
So if I could give you some reference from this, my drawing here would be north of my home. See the word Juniper Street?
Yep.
Right around the word J-U-N, that's where my driveway
Your
enters
dri-
the
okay.
property.
Is that your shed as well, or?
It's interesting, that's actually the neighbor's garage. On all the plot plans, it shows to be on my property, but I'm under the understanding that it's not.
It just shows it in this,
Yeah,
it's not on this certified plan, which is
correct,
fine.
yeah. On the town maps, on the
Not required
GIS
either.
maps, it is shown there.
so the drainage pipe that you spoke about, you said it's under your driveway?
Correct. So from the P in Juniper
Yep.
to the point of the subject note on Lot 6, there's a storm drain easement that passes underneath both properties.
Okay.
Do you have this, Stephen? It has it.
It just got it.
That's this.
That cone in the middle, that comes from top to bottom.
Oh,
And so his house is over here.
yeah, in my mind, I thought it was gonna be under this, not on,
That's it, right there. Run from the basin.
and this is where the house is going?
Mm-mm.
The house is going,
Nope, the house is already drawn.
The house is here.
The proposed, it says proposed house?
Proposed house is here. So
okay,
this here is the lot dash 10 to the side.
and his house
then-
is here,
Yes.
okay. That is closer to the proposed house than I had in my mind. The drainage,
Easement.
I thought it was gonna be down here, but it's up here.
And your house is pretty close to Juniper Street, like your front of your house is pretty,
That's correct.
How far off the street is your house?
8 feet, maybe.
I guess 10 feet maybe.
Oh, wait a minute, you're number 4, you said, no.
Number 5.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor or opposition? Sir?
Jack Fletcher, 43 Stedman Street. His house, if you look at the drain pipe there, is completely to the left of that pipe. This proposed building would be completely to the right. This house would line up with his shed that used to be, there was a hunter that used to live in that house, he used to keep his dogs there. So that would line up, and it pretty much would line up with the driveway of his neighbor. So if you looked out his window, he still would have all that property open. Because the first lot that you see, you can't build on that lot.
Right.
Okay, so that's all open space to the left. And the house would be built on the right lot, the 2 lots. So technically, the houses would never be in line with each other.
Right, there's an
Ever.
offset there.
Right. They'd be off. And this, the house that's proposed, would kind of line up with the neighbor's driveway and the shed that's on his property. And like I said, we've been there since 1898, 4 generations.
Getting the hang of the
Okay.
place, huh?
Right. Kind of got it out, and we're looking to build a house, sell the house that we live on 7th Street, and build a house for ourselves there on 1 level. getting a little older, looking for a one-level house. It's not gonna be this crazy monster that we're gonna throw in the neighborhood that we lived in our whole life. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or concerns this evening?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any thoughts?
My big start is the variance from 1998. How can we really deny it since
When it's been
1998
approved.
approved it? I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Well, we're much smarter than those guys.
We're much
so-
smarter too, right, Brian? I'm gonna call you Brian.
Make sure this is on tape.
For the world to see. It's very difficult to imagine overturning it without cause. It seems a reasonable approach to this. They're within the setbacks. The area, while not qualifying for a 40,000 square foot lot, it doesn't appear that any of the homes in the area, certainly not the abutters, in any direction, maybe across the street, there was one that was a little larger, but I don't even know if that was 40,000 feet. I don't have that in front of me. It seems a reasonable approach to it.
Like to make a motion.
Well, Steve, let's do that then.
Like to make a motion to approve the variance for section 195-9 for 4 Wildwood Street, and any other relief necessary with respect to the letters, to create a buildable lot,
Measuring 15,000 feet up here.
with an area of 15,000 square feet.
I'm addressing the letters, is it? I think so.
Yeah, I think I said that.
I'll second that motion.
A second by Jamie. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
It's unanimous?
Thank you.
good luck with it.
Thank you.
Now, we're just gonna take 5 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves.
I didn't, 'cause it-
hearing is 52 Ansi Road, Matthew Carston's special permit, section 195-61, for the construction of addition for a limited accessory apartment and any other relief deemed necessary. Parcels in the residential B district. Good evening.
Matthew Cousins, I live at 52 Ansi Road. I'm applying this for get an apartment on there for help my father out during his later years. I submitted a substantial amount of plans here for you. The building does meet all the setbacks for the town. One concern that my father did have is that the garage on the front of the new house, new addition, is set back to meet the 40-foot setback. He would like to make it even across the front of the two garages so that it would be non-conforming. The existing house is non-conforming as it sits now, but he would like to see that go straight across the front. If we don't, we'll do it as the design that we have now.
Sir, am I looking at the plan that shows it? Are we talking about that 10-foot section right there?
Correct.
So right now, this plan would show it the way you'd like to see it happen.
He wants the garage doors to meet in the front. It's set back about 4 feet.
Oh, I see
5
it now.
feet.
I'm sorry, I see it now. Yeah, okay.
The existing house is non-conforming as it sits for the 40 feet.
And that allows us the freedom to make this, as long as not further non-conforming, we can continue that line.
That's what
Still have
Mr.
a special
Negron
permit.
said, but the way that the street is not actually parallel to it, so it might be a little bit less than the 35.7 that goes over there for the
Of Ansi Road?
because the road is not straight to the house. It's a little crooked, but the house built in 1962 was non-conforming anyways. We designed it so that it would be conforming with all the setbacks, but
But if they bring that corner up to the front of the
aesthetically
house,
looking,
it'll be closer than.
we'd like to have the two garages meet across the front of the house. But if we don't, that's okay, we can still do it the way that we've designed it.
So you're still seeing that being a special permit if he was to move that forward?
Move the accessory apartment?
The 10-foot garage area is 40 foot 1 inch away now from the front line, and he'd like to move that forward to the 35.7 to be in line with the existing house.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Correct.
if that was to move forward.
Are you gonna increase the size of the garage by that 5 feet?
Yeah, it would be about 40 square feet, 10 by 4, something like that.
But the garage is not part of the accessory apartment, so we don't
Okay,
have to worry
that's
about
right.
the
Okay,
size.
we'd have to, and I'm assuming we're not.
As you see, the red line is where the setback and all that stuff is now, and the house is non-conforming and it was built in 62. So, Mr. Negron made that point when I first started this process, so we designed it so that we would meet all the setbacks, front, back, and side. And after looking at the plans, we would like to have it go straight across, but if not, then we'll do it the way that it sits now.
Now, is it, excluding the garage area, is that all accessory apartment? The 40 by
24.
24? 'Cause that takes us to 1,176 square feet.
Subtract the staircase, the egress, and all that on the side of the plan. It does have a breakdown. It came out to about 739 square feet. If you subtract the egress and ingress and the staircase and the hallway, if you could bring up the plan of the house, it would show where the, I believe it's down a couple of pages on that. The floor plan, which is probably page 6, I believe. That's the existing house. That one there.
Here it
There's
is.
a staircase and a hallway and the foyer to get in there on that area there.
First floor stairs.
Up in the top right-hand corner, we gave a breakdown of the
727.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just looking to be under 750, or we have to make an allowance for that. It's not particularly a big problem, just trying to...
I mean, that's how we came up with it, by going with the, subtracting the staircase and the egress and,
You've done it right.
you know.
Are there any questions, the applicant?
So did we answer the question about whether or not they could bump the garage up? But that would make it more more non-conforming. That would increase the non-conforming.
It wouldn't increase the nonconformity, correct?
No, it wouldn't.
So it's still a special permit.
We can allow him to do that.
We can allow him to do that, and that's more aesthetic to me, but we want to do it right.
Yeah.
Would we have to see that new plan to approve it, or would we just say not to exceed the 35.7?
I think we could do that. Jose will be reviewing the plans,
Right.
so, right, as long as it continues to be,
And put it in our decision.
yep, we can do that. Everybody comfortable with that?
So this shaded brown area is the LAA?
That's the existing house.
That's the existing.
Yep. That
The
light gray
grayscale
the
is
grayscale is the
both
actual-
the garage and the LAA.
Is in the rear.
I have large scale plans if anybody wants to see it that way.
I'm good with that. All right, I'll read some letters. The building commissioner has a letter. Dear Mr. Carson, it appears per your uncertified plot plan, your proposed addition for LA is within the setbacks. Be advised, for this LA addition, you would need a special permit from the Board of Appeals. Once the approved LLA is approved by the Board of Appeals, you would need to provide a CCP with your construction documents to verify the actual setback from butters as a certified plot plan, to verify the actual setback from butters in the building permit application. Please make the application for a special permit with the Board of Appeals at your earliest convenience. Thank you.
Do we need to see a certified plan?
They have one. We have one here.
We
It's
did get
stamped.
one? Okay.
Chelmsford Fire Department, dear members of the board, this office has reviewed the proposed limited accessory apartment at 52 Ansi Road and finds the following. The entire home shall be upgraded to comply with the latest edition of the Massachusetts State Building Code for smoke, heat, and carbon monoxide detectors. The proponent shall submit plans for review to the Fire Prevention Office via the Town of Chelmsford online permitting portal. All smoke, carbon monoxide, and heat detectors required shall be marked on the plans prior to submission for review. This department is concerned that if there is more than one dwelling on a property, then that occupancy should be identifiable from the street. This office will require two mailboxes identifying the property as 52 Ansi Road and 52A Ansi Road. Both addresses must be visible on the building to the street. The applicant shall make an application for addresses to the Chelmsford E911 Committee and its coordinator, Town Clerk Tricia Juez. This department is not interested in official change of address being recorded on the deed. It is only our intent to distinguish this home to emergency responders. This office would approve this plan with these conditions. I ask the board to make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully, Danielle Kostafis, Captain, Chelmsford Fire Department. I have a letter from the Board of Health with 0 comments. I have a letter from the police with no comments. I have a letter from Christine Clancy, the engineering department. The office had reviewed the project application and plans documents submitted to the DPW on April 26, 2022 for the following public hearing on May 5th, 2022. 52 Ansi Road, Matthew Carson, special permit, section 195-6, for the construction of an addition for a limited accessory apartment and any other relief deemed necessary. This office has no comments. Chelmsford ZPA, this letter is for the LLA application at 52 Ansi Road. I believe this is your letter, sir?
That's his name.
Matthew Carson's, yep, just so we're all clear. My family has lived at this address since 1963. My father, George, will eventually need assistance in his later years and would like to remain in the house. Therefore, my family is making this request. We have determined that an LAA is the best option to make things more accommodating for George to stay in his home. We are looking to increase the living space for this address. It has one floor designed to match the abutting homes with additional space for a single car storage area and meets all the setback requirements for the town. All the utilities will enter the full basement of the addition via the storage utility area under the living area. Presently, the laundry area will be located to the first floor. We thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Matthew Carstens. That is the end of my letters. Any questions? Anyone in the audience like to speak in favor or opposition to this application? Can't figure out why you guys are here.
I guess we're gonna find out soon.
So I guess I would look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Jamie, second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
I don't think we have too many questions. Everyone,
I'll make a motion to approve the special permit for 52 Anson Road and to include all letters read in.
Do we need to talk about the?
should we put a notation for the setback?
Thank you. To include the modification to the garage not to exceed the current main house setback, front setback.
Frontage setback.
Frontage setback, yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Aaron. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Good luck
Thank
with
you.
it.
Thank you.
So, I don't know how it stayed here that long. That's 8 Coolidge. I'll leave these right here for you. Our next application is 12 Chatham Road. Richard Volpicelli.
I'm Ed Greaves. I'm representing them. It's for a
And
special
one
permit.
time, let me just finish
Oh, I'm
reading.
sorry.
This is for a special permit, section 195-8E, 1A, for the construction of a new farmer's porch, which does not meet the required front yard setback and any other relief deemed necessary. Good evening.
Hi. Applying for a special permit for addition on a farmer's porch.
I'm sorry, what's your name again, sir? I'm sorry.
Ed Greaves.
Ed Greaves.
Just a second while I pull up the plans here.
Are we current non-conforming?
Mr. Greaves has a letter here that says to the Board of Appeals, the project consists of a second-story addition with a 7-by-24 farmer's porch. The porch is 1.7 feet too close to the Fleetwood Drive due to a New England Power Company easement. That's a very minimal setback there.
If you look on the plot plan, the foundation of the house is pushed forward because of that easement.
I think it's up on the board now.
Zoom in.
Certainly can, well, we don't even need a hardship, so that's good.
So it's already non-conforming. Oh, yeah. This one is in, what's the year on this one?
Say it again.
You just see what year this house was? The year of the house?
On Fleetwood, I'd say 1960. Do you know how old the home is?
I believe it was 1960.
60?
Any questions from the board? I will read the letters in. Members of the board, from the fire department, this office has renewed the proposal for an addition at 12 Chatham Road and finds the following. The entire home, existing and new construction, shall be equipped with life safety systems as required by 780 CMR 51, standard for new construction at the time of application for a building permit. The home shall have hardwired, interconnected smoke, carbon monoxide, and heat detectors in all required locations. The applicant shall upload a plan showing all life safety devices to their building permit application. This office would approve of this addition with these conditions. I ask that the board make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully submitted, Danielle Christophus, Captain, Chelmsford Fire Department. I have a letter from the Department of Public Works. This office has no comments. Letter from the police. This office has no comments. And a letter from the Board of Health with no comments. That is the end of my letters. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor or opposition to this application? Seeing none.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Jamie, second by Steve. All in favor? Aye. The speedo light.
Now, that was the easiest one tonight. Oh, we're not done. We're not done yet.
We didn't vote yet.
We're not done yet, it's not
I'm
closed.
jumping the gun.
I really don't think we have a lot of
Chicken before
issue
the
here,
eggs.
so I think it's okay to.
Well, so if this is 60, the old standard, this would be RA1. Would it have been RA1 or RA2 or RA3?
RA2.
It would be RA2.
35.
So
Yeah, so he's a foot and a half off, right?
So it needs
it says
35.
he'd be back 33.3.
Right,
The
it's
porch
supposed
would be
to
back 33.3, so
Instead of
in
35,
RA2,
right.
he'd be,
But since we're increasing his
Oh, yeah, he'd be-
nonconformity, don't we need a variance?
Be a small-
Not until it goes past the 20%.
Oh, that's,
I'm like, wait a
I thought it
minute,
was
have the-
regardless. Increasing
The special permit,
nonconformity.
we don't hit variance until it's the, we give it 20%, the special permit.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the special permit on 195-8E for the construction of a new farmer's porch at 12 Chatham Road, including all the letters that have been read in.
Second the motion.
Second by Aaron, all in favor?
Aye. Good luck with it.
Was the easiest one. Hey, thank
So
you.
far, you've got one left that's gonna.
I think you might be right.
This one's gonna go.
This one.
Yeah, they didn't have any Cinco de Mayo plans.
But the variance itself.
I'm not
There's still
voting
time
either.
here. There's still
I'm not
time.
even voting either, it's not
The,
fun.
Yeah.
You only need a variance if you're over 20% of the
Oh,
variance.
no, I voted on some.
So we had to be
Find it
a
interesting.
foot and a half.
Well, like the longer you drop off, and then you're like,
Oh, I was telling Brian, I farmed a lot. Yeah, I farmed
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 homes, so I've been through all this crap.
Our next application is off Westford Street, Lot 4, the Donovan Family Trust, for a variance, 195.15B and D, for the creation of a rear lot and construction of a dwelling that will not meet the required setbacks and frontage and any other relief that may be deemed necessary.
And the property highlighted in blue.
yeah.
Do we have letters, especially Jose's?
Hello,
evening.
I'm Douglas Shaw. This is my wife Jillian Shaw and my attorney, Attorney Gould. My family has owned this property since the 60s. And Clover Hill was actually built by my grandfather back in the 60s as well. So I'm here asking for variances for frontage and rear setback. I don't meet either. And the true reason that I'm here is this was left to us as a family from my grandfather to help with the care of my brother since my mom now is retired. So me building a home, she essentially gets the proceeds, who ultimately he will always live with her. And when she passes on, he will ultimately live with me. I understand that it's a difficult project, but this is a means to help the family out. We've been in town for many, many generations. This is the last remaining piece from him, and he has passed, but so here I am asking for my variances.
I can appreciate that.
This is the site plan.
So I'm going to read the denial letter from the building inspector. Dear Mr. Shaw, please use letter as your denial notice to your proposed single-family dwelling project on lot number 71-317-4 Westford Street. It appears, as per my findings, that the structure does not meet the 40-foot requirement for rear lots and lacks frontage of 50 feet at the driveway. Also, you would need compliance with 195-15 rear lots E and any provisions established by the planning board in regards to rear lot creation. Please do not hesitate to contact me should you have further questions on this denial. Thank you, Jose Negro. So the rear lot has quite a few
Got wetlands,
requirements.
zoning. The rear lot? What are they zoning in?
I believe it's 2 acres, is that right? Jose, that the rear lot? 80,000 square feet, which is
And this is
two
99.
builders' acres.
Was it 99?
The definition lot area per zoning is.
So this isn't the line that it has to meet?
Upland,
That doesn't mean.
RB.
It's gonna,
Is 25 wrong?
so. So that will be,
So wait, so this is to split the lot,
30.
the house with the green around it?
No, actually,
That part of it?
ignore that highlighted part. I can't seem
So
to
this
get rid
says
of
30
that.
for
Oh, okay.
Because I entered in that address just to zoom in on the lot we're looking at is this blue one right here.
Okay, so that green is just,
Outlined in
okay.
blue.
Yeah, it's outlined in blue. So the frontage is where I'm pointed to right here. It's got a bottleneck.
Okay.
So it's currently deemed non-buildable because of the frontage, and they want to
Okay.
make it, asking for a variance.
If I may, I think the requirement is 50 feet of frontage. There is a permission for this board to waive it not more than 20%, which would put it at 40 feet. This is actually 42 feet. So I believe it's within your ability to waive on that frontage if you find the requirements for a variance and that.
Thank you.
Would it be 8 feet?
20%?
20% of 50, I think, is 10 feet.
8 feet.
20% of 50
It's 10.
is 10 feet. 40 feet. They've got 40 feet. That's 42 feet.
And talking with Jose, the where it shows 25 feet for the, whatever that is, side setback, it should be 30 required.
Here, the 30?
That
This one here?
25
the
is supposed to
backside?
be 30,
Oh, okay.
correct? Yes. So
But we're also looking at a 40,000 square foot lot that needs to have 99,000. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No,
I got backwards.
You are having say.
Required is 40,000,
40.
the proposed is 99,000.
Yeah.
978.
The rear setback is supposed to be what? 30, right?
that's, yeah.
Frontage is, it should be 40, side should be 25,
And
and
is
rear should be 30.
30.
Yeah.
But
So what are
this-
you showing
Is this the,
different?
that's,
The rear shows.
that's the rear here?
Oh, it's
No.
the side of the lot.
That is side is 25.
Side of the lot.
Rear is 30. They're showing 30.
Is this the,
So this will be, so
They're showing rear is
this will
30.
be the front of the
This would be
house,
the
according
side.
to my conversations with them. They put that there just for the purpose of coming in. So this will be the back. This will be the side, that will be the side, this will be the front.
can you bring
Yep.
that up on the screen?
That is.
So,
Do you need to zoom in more?
yeah, this, can you put your mouse back there? That area where she's moving the mouse, that's supposed to be the rear. So that's supposed to be 30, is what I'm hearing, not 25.
The 170 foot would be the rear?
So it has two rears.
They have 25, 25, 30.
Is this the rear?
It's gonna have two rears.
No.
This is considered the side, this is considered the rear. The five-sided side.
Right, but he's saying,
So
he's
in
saying
your
this is the
interpretation,
rear,
this is the rear.
not this.
It should be like 25 here, 25 here, 30 there.
Yeah.
It should be 30. No, it's right, it should be 30. But he's saying this is the rear.
They meet all the conditions.
This is weird, what is this?
In his interpretation, which is everything, this is the side, this is the rear.
That would be side too.
What is this?
That would be front.
So can we count this as frontage?
So they were coming this way towards the house.
So it's a five-sided thing, and so there's frontage, and this is, well, it's actual frontage, but the front of the lot, the side, the rear, and the side, because it's a five-sided.
But the applicant can further clarify because this is the conversation.
Yep.
My understanding is this is the frontage, side.
So with the 42, we could grant that as a special permit of non-variance. Aren't they going for a variance?
Yes. Yes, they were going for a variance. But it's also including the construction of the dwelling.
Is this yours or mine?
I just got that from her. You can certainly,
They have mine, so that's all
or,
right.
is it?
Brian, you're reading it all wrong. It's all 40 feet.
40 feet for what?
Everything is 40 feet for a rear lot. The side and everything's 40, that's what we're debating.
Rear lots shall be allowed only in RA and RB districts by special permit issued by the planning board. Individual lots do not have the required amount of street frontage. Individual lots need not have the required amount of street frontage, provided that all the following conditions can be met for each individual lot lacking such frontage. The area of the said lot is at least 80,000 square feet, so that would comply.
Okay.
The front, rear, and side yards shall be at least 40 feet. So whether
that.
there's discussion as to what the front, rear, and side are,
They're all 40. It didn't say setback, it just says side. It didn't say
the front,
setback.
rear, and side yards shall be at least 40 feet.
Yeah, it didn't say setbacks. It's like this is 40, this is 100 and 300 and 300 and 50 and 90, so all of them exceed 40 feet.
I think you're correct about that.
It doesn't
Yeah,
say
Charlie, I don't think
setbacks.
that's a setback.
It's not a setback.
I think
it's
that's the
length.
actual length
or
of the,
depth.
the front, rear, and side yards shall be at least 40 feet.
Yeah.
The dimension of that run, that line.
They don't want anything to be like 30 feet and then run 600 feet.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The building line is designated on the plan, and the width of the lot at that line equals or exceeds 125 feet.
107.
So we can qualify that. D, lot width is at no point less than 50 feet, and the lot frontage is not less than 50 feet. No section of the lot with a width less than 100 feet shall be used to compute the minimum lot area set forth. So that would mean that the lot has to be calculated with this space not included in the 80,000. Looking at it, I believe they would comply, but I think we need to.
Mr. Chair, we've done that math for you, and it's 42 by 150 on the net, which tallies to 6,300. So if you take 6,300 from the full 99,000, you're still at 90,000.
Yep, I think you would comply.
There was something about the no part being less than 50 feet. Did you just read that off?
40, no run, no length of, None of these can be less than 40 feet.
I thought you just said something about a width in what you were reading, one of your criteria.
The lot width is at no point less than 50 feet. The lot frontage is not less than 50 feet. No section of the lot with a width of less than 100 feet shall be used to compute the minimum lot area set above.
Does that
So
little
the
part
lot
on the
width-
top count as lot width being less than 50 feet in that section?
Yeah, I would think so. Did you see it that way, Jose, as well?
But if
So
you
the-
don't say that, if we can grant a 42, if we can count with the 42, if we can give them 42 frontage, it contradicts that authorization for 42 foot frontage.
The
Mr.
lot
Chairman,
width is at
interject
no point.
Oh. Yes, please.
So I don't think you have the authority to reduce the frontage requirement from 50 feet to 42 feet. So I'm looking at section 195-9, conformity required, reduction of dimensional requirements. And section E, reductions to dimensional requirements. For purpose of single and two-family dwellings, the zoning board of appeals may issue a special permit for the reduction of not more than 20% from front, side, and rear yard dimensional requirements within the table of dimensional requirements. It doesn't say anything about frontage there. So I think that you need to move forward on the variance discussion.
We'd have to grant a variance for the 42 feet.
You have to grant a variance on the frontage.
It's still a variance, not a special permit.
I was gonna get there before town council just jumped in. That was
Sorry, Steve, I'm like that.
on
Stole
my
your
way.
thunder.
I was
Stolen your
zoning in,
thunder,
but-
right. So we are back to a variance.
But that thing, oh, so those considerations were how to get to a special permit, those items you were reading off?
Those were the requirements for rear lots. And we're hearing this as opposed to the planning board?
Well, so I think the process that would be necessary is that you would, the applicant would first have to get a variance of the frontage requirements and any other of the rear lot requirements that it can comply with. And then it would still need to go to the planning board to get the special permit for the rear lot.
They would issue the special permit. We would issue a variance.
Subject,
For-
with the condition that they obtain a special permit from the planning board.
So those criteria that you were reading through, are those considerations we have to make?
Yeah, 195-15, rear lots. Rear lots shall be allowed only in the RA and RB districts. We've qualified that. By a special permit issued by the planning board, so that's not our concern. Individual lots need not to have the required amount of street frontage, provided that all the following conditions can be met for each individual lot lacking such frontage.
Alternatively, Mr. Chairman, you could also just simply grant a variance on the lot frontage without incorporating the rear lot provision. But again, you would have to grant any other variances that are necessary for this lot to be buildable.
I mean, I think that the only variance that's required is the,
8 feet.
I would call it the reduction of the frontage and the reduction of the lot width from 50 to 42. Right, the lot width has to be 50 to qualify as a rear?
It has to be 50 on the rear lot provision, correct?
Item D, don't you,
Yes.
Oh, at no point less than 50 feet.
But if we're not incorporating the rear lot standards,
Standard.
if you simply granted a straight variance on the
From,
frontage,
as a 150 down to 42,
correct.
and just leave it as a standard lot, not a rear lot classification. Then you're not restricted to any of this.
Now we've reduced the frontage by 2/3, which we've never
Never
done.
done.
That's really a slippery thing, because the next one that comes in front of us,
Well, no.
we're not held to precedent, but it is something to consider when someone says, if he can, how can we, you know? If you consider it a rear lot, it's, to me, less offensive than calling it a standard lot, because we created that lot.
And you can certainly choose to move forward in that manner as well. incorporate the rear lot, but that would then require a separate permitting process with the planning board. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
I have grave concerns about creating a lot that has 42 feet of frontage. I think it's something that'll come back again and again with other applications. And it's 2/3 of what we require, so
Look
it's
at the
not.
size of the lot. I mean, it has 90,000 square feet. I mean, it's not like it's a 42, we're not doing 42 for 15,000. I mean, this lot is 90,000 square feet. I mean, it's not your typical, I mean, the variance would be they'd have to, if they ever wanted to try to divide into another buildable lot with this variance, they would have to come and manipulate.
Well, as it stands, the lot doesn't even have any frontage, right? Because they're proposing putting in this driveway that would then be that 42 feet of frontage. So right now, it actually has zero
I
frontage.
think the lot is the 42 feet is there by right now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, the driveway is not, but
Oh,
the.
it is.
This is the shape of the lot.
I see. Oh, yeah, yeah.
What did we do for that property? The
Shaded blue.
how did we count for the property that we split next to 4-H? You remember?
We allowed frontage on 7th. Yeah, we had a common driveway, that's what we did. There was frontage on that,
It was small though, too,
on 7th. They had the frontage on Parkerville.
for both of them.
How could they? That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. They used the driveway, the access off of Parkerville.
I know, we might have to look at that decision and see what we did.
Mm-hmm. This is
Can I
this
ask-
is exactly what I see.
What would it be if it didn't actually even have that frontage and like one of those front houses owned it and was willing to grant an easement back to that parcel of land? How would that be managed then?
You would have to
Like,
grant a
would you
variance
consider-
down to 0 frontage.
You would have to grant a variance down to zero frontage. Oh, that's
And
interesting.
you really can't landlock a property, so.
Yeah, like how did, well, if you have landlocked property, how do you, you know?
Discussion for another day.
Yes.
Buy another property
Well,
and
or I
merge.
mean, if it were easier, that would maybe be.
Gray suits, Boston lawyers, right? So I think I'm going to read the letters in and try to get a better understanding of how this would work. I really don't know the right route here. This is from the Water District. The Chelmsford Center Water District has concerns with the proposed construction of a dwelling at the site. A representative for the project should contact the Chelmsford Water District. Once a contractor has met with us, reviewed and accepted our requirements, we will forward a signed approved letter to you. In addition, the Water Commissioners, upon approval of the proposed project, request the following to be part of your conditions. Water is for domestic use only. Water-saving devices should be utilized throughout the facility. And xeriscape landscaping should be implemented to minimize water usage. Rick Tansino, Distribution Manager, Chelmsford Water District.
That was a follow-up letter from Rick that came in today.
As a representative of this proposed project, has met with the Chelmsford Water District, and our concerns have been or will be fulfilled by the contractor. The Chelmsford Water District has no longer any concerns with this proposed project. Richard Tansino, Distribution Manager, Chelmsford Water District. Western Street Lot Creation, Lot 4, to whom may concern in regards to the rear lot and new home that is proposed off Lot 4 off Westford Street. The fire prevention finds the following. Fire prevention officer requests that the driveway be constructed to the roadway standards and to withstand a load of CFD ladder 1 or 84,000 pounds. This office also requests the apparatus turnaround will accommodate an AASHTO SU-30 vehicle. The street frontage on the lot in question falls between 98 and 100 Westford Street. The proponent shall submit a request to the address of the Town of Chelmsford E911 Committee through its chairperson, Town Clerk Tricia Juez. This application shall be made prior to the submission of a building permit application. The entire home shall be equipped with smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and heat detectors per Massachusetts Residential Building Code. While not a building code or fire code requirement due to the proposed home's distance from the roadway, approximately 300 to 350 feet from Westford Street, the Fire Prevention Office recommends that the applicant install an NFPA 13D compliant residential fire sprinkler system during construction. A fire sprinkler system adds minimal cost to the construction of the home and adds a considerable level of life safety and property conservation. The Fire Prevention Office would approve of this application, ask that the board make this letter part of their decision. Respectfully, Danielle Kostofis, Captain, Chelmsford Fire Department. We have no comments from the police, no comments from the Board of Health. And it says, from Donna Greenwood, which I believe is the DPW. Hi, Donna, it appears that this does have a sewer stub. Christine will include this information in a write-up for the ZBA meeting. And I don't believe I received Christine's letter. But there is a stub.
Copy of the letter, if you'd like.
Yes. Dear members, this office has reviewed the project application plans and documents submitted to the DPW on April 26, 2022, for the following public hearing notice on May 5th, 2022. Off Western Street, Lot 4, the Donovan Family Trust variance, 19515 B&D for creation of a rear lot and construction of a dwelling that will not meet the required setbacks and frontage and any other relief that is deemed necessary. As a result of this review, the office has the following comments. The DPW has confirmed that a sewer stub exists and therefore this parcel is exempt from the current sewer moratorium. The sewer service will be connected via gravity. The sewer grinder pumps are only considered by the town if there are no other feasible solutions to connecting to the main. Contact the DPW Highway Division for any necessary permits within the right-of-way. Sincerely, Christine Clancy, DPW Facilities Director. Those are my letters. I'm going to open this up to the audience. I'm going to ask that you're mindful of the time. And if someone has made your point, everybody wants to make a point, but we'll try to keep this as quick as we can. So I suggest if everyone or who else would speak, please line up. Maybe you can give the podium to others.
Hi, I'm Tom Amaro. I'm a town meeting rep. I live at 90 Westford Street, and I'd like to point out that the plan is not complete in any regard, and it doesn't, another requirement for real lots, G, says there shall be a turnaround at the house suitable for an SU-30 vehicle. There should be a pullout on the access driveway every 250 feet. So the plan would have to show a lot more detail on the driveway. I'd also like to speak to what Jamie alluded to of 90,000 square feet. This lot was designated when they subdivided the original property as unbuildable because it's a lot of wetland, and there's a brook that runs through it that is a tributary for Beaver Brook. And if you go into Lime Quarry, you can actually see the culvert, the outlet that comes under Route 95. And if you look at USGS maps, you can actually see the continuation of the brook. I would submit that it is a perennial brook, not an intermittent, because it does appear on the USGS map. Okay. In addition to that, you answered the question about the sewer, although when I went to the Map Geo database, in fact, you could do it right now and look at the layers. I didn't really see that sewer stub, but I will double check later. The parcel is registered as Lot 12, not a building lot, in the Northern Middlesex Recorded Registered Land Registry of Deeds, Book 110, page 85, dated July 8th, 1969. Also, it has been assessed as unbuildable by our tax assessor's office since 1998, when the current owner acquired it, which I thought was the Donovan Trust.
We've owned it since.
But, okay. So, they've been paying a pittance on it as an unbuildable plot of, lot. And if it's become buildable all of a sudden, shouldn't the owner have requested it to be recategorized and started paying at a higher rate? And then there's another zoning, because I was kind of told I should limit this to zoning related, because we could go on and on about the conservation requirements that after, if it goes through and gets approved here for a variance, then it still has to go through lots of studies and by the Conservation Committee and get approved through, by them. But there is one what looks to me like a zoning violation, is the proposed driveway violates the wetlands limitation 187.5C that requires impervious surfaces not to be within 30 feet of any resource area. And the brook is obviously one of the defined resource areas for a wetland, for our wetland bylaws. So, I mean, that's all I had, but we have a whole line of people that will speak to some other aspects, reasons for denying this.
One question before you leave.
Yes.
Is the brook what is shown as drainage ditch on this plan?
Yes, and actually, that's a terrible misnomer. And in fact, if you look here, this is the wetland, and the brook comes out there. And on some maps, you can actually see it continuing to 495, and then on the other side of 495. And
Okay.
Can you do
here we can, like to pass around these pictures of the brook.
Can I say something, maybe,
Absolutely.
because he's done? Maybe we should wait till conservation gets done before we do anything. I don't know if that's putting the cart first or the horse first, or...
I believe they were coming before us first and then conservation second.
I mean, they can pick and choose. If
They have
They
not
can pick
applied
and
with
choose,
conservation yet.
we approve in some format, and conservation says you can't put the house there, they'll be back in front of us for a modification
In
or
order to do
a
both things at
change.
once, you're right. Okay.
I mean, I think, I for one would probably look at this, and I think that if we could add it to the list on Saturday,
Same day.
we'll go to Seventh Lane and then come here
I like
and look at that. I think it would be, I've driven by it 100 times, but I'd really like to see how the brook works and where this is. I mean, it's obvious there's a ton of opposition.
If you look though, look, I mean, the wetland goes all the way almost to they can't build on the wetland, right? There's no way they're gonna be able to build on it.
To Charlie's point, but they do have the right to come to us first if that's their
Yeah.
choice. I mean, I really, I would be against calling this a standard lot, because I think we would just have great problems down the road with a 42-inch frontage being approved. So that requires the rear lot, and the rear lot
Well, I
has its
didn't-
own
I didn't realize,
protections.
too, the wetland thing was,
And that's
reducing a lot of the usable.
I mean, looking at the lay of the land, that goes all the way up Westford Street, Coach Road, all the way up there. It's all drainage down to that space. Thank you.
Trying to
Conservation Commission would then do their due
Churchill,
diligence to determine if
Dover.
it was internet and parameters.
Right, no one would have to determine that. The wetland scientists would figure that out. Yes, sir.
Tom Pym, 15 Clover Hill. Would you mind going back to that last?
The plot
18
plan?
years ago, we went through this same thing. It was called Ossipee Realty Trust. And the board approved a curbing variance, a lighting variance, a pavement variance, underground utilities variance, sidewalk variance, tree variance. And I had a river in my yard for, I'm essentially
where are you?
I'm essentially here, I believe. This is Ossipee Trust. This is the lane. There's two houses. All three of us had rivers going through our yard for 5 years. There's a natural slope that goes from Westford Street to Clover Hill. And this is that much closer to wetlands and a creek. And we had a river for 5 years. It cost me over $10,000 to put French drain, and I had to put, this is Ossipee. These are the two houses that were built. They want to build next to it. This house, me, this house, this house, this house, all had rivers running through it when they took out 40 trees out of here, and everything from Pine Hill just runs down this way. I had to build drainage ditches. I had to build a French drain. It was just a disaster. No disrespect, but it's not a good idea.
Good evening, everyone. Nicholas Vecchietti, 3 Clover Hill Drive. So I'm the property basically on the east side, 713179. So my property will share the border where the house is supposed to be built. So I have some concern. Some of them already my neighbors already went through. Some other questions. So first of all, I'm noticing that they are building the house pretty much at like 20 feet from our borderline, and it's gonna be huge because if you look at the proposal, is 3 stories, 3,500 square footage. So I feel that my privacy, the privacy of my family, is gonna be basically gone, honestly. And now, just to take the point of my neighbors, I'm really concerned about the water issue because, as Thomas already, they already said that that's officially a wetland over there. There are several trees, and the trees, they are blocking the water in the soil. So they are saving us currently from flooding. And if this house will be built, if we call it house, we'll say mansion or castle, I mean, it's gonna be a lot of digging, and those trees will be gone. What's gonna happen? That the property is not flat. There is a slope. I can see how the water is gonna end up in my yard, in other big neighbor's yard, and as they just mentioned, we will have to face something like sump pump, French drain. I mean, honestly, for a family, is a financial burden, and I don't see why we should have to face it when it's gonna be an issue that right now doesn't exist, and it's not something that my family is it's causing to the neighborhood. So we like the neighborhood, we like how it is, and that's another point. I mean, 3,500, it's big. I mean, doesn't look like anything that is in the style of the whole neighborhood. So that's I don't know if it's a point for this board, but just personal comment. And again, it's big. So what about the safety? I mean, you mentioned about that there's gonna be a sprinkle from the fire department, but the house is gonna be very close to my property. So if there is a fire hazard, something like that, are we sure that the fire doesn't got to spray over and gonna endanger my property or the property that is located on the southern lot? That's something that concern me a lot. Plus all the environmental damage that is gonna happen to the brook, because looking at the map, honestly, calling that one as a drainage ditch, I think it's a little bit misleading because the picture show you that it's a beautiful brook. That's the picture taken at the beginning where there is West 4th Street. It goes all the way down. We know that a lot of flora and fauna depend on that natural resources. We saw deer, we saw woodchuck, we saw raccoon, a lot of animals. If you're just gonna build something like that, what's gonna happen to these guys? I see that they want to propose a wetland in the southern part, but honestly, in nature it doesn't work like that. You cannot just remove something from one area and pretend that you're gonna translocate it on the other part. That's gonna be more on the human. It's a really big impact on the biodiversity of Chelmsford. Don't know if it's a point for this board. If not, apologies for that. But I'm really concerning for those are all my concern points. So thank you so much.
Good evening. Pete Yagman, 4 Pine Hill Road. I appreciate you listening to me, so I'll try to be brief and be mindful of your time. I do feel I'm probably going to reiterate some of the points of that gentleman, so I'll try to be brief. One of my concerns is with the potential, both from the, potential of pollution from the construction, potential impact of, well, it sounds like a septic system won't be a problem. That was one of my concerns. But also the potential of the impact from salt on this giant driveway, which is no doubt going to be plowed. No one is going to, in their right mind, shovel that driveway. But furthermore, I find it will be detrimental to the proposed development, would be detrimental to the neighborhood, and would cause overcrowding. The house is not in proportion to the other homes abutting the property. It would also be, as this gentleman stated, it would be detrimental to the environment, due in part to the loss of biodiversity. It would displace wildlife in that area. I myself have been a lifelong environmentalist, and I have taken on a stewardship role in the last 4 years cleaning up my own property. I ventured onto this property and pulled out tires and garbage and all sorts of things in an effort to try and conserve this area. So I'm speaking out in opposition of this, in large part to maintain the biodiversity of this area. In my opinion, this is the type of property you own explicitly to keep from being built on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Attorney Morris Mason, 147 East Merrimack Street, Lowell, Massachusetts, and I represent one of the direct abutters, Maureen Mason, at 7 Clover Hill Drive. I've heard the testimony that's been given here tonight, and although many areas have been spoken to regarding environmental, regarding the nature of the land, no one has spoken to the actual hardship required under a variance. And I asked the board to take that into consideration. That's what we're looking at tonight, is whether or not it meets the uniqueness requirement and the hardship requirement. It doesn't appear that it does. It appears that this property was created by the grandfather of the present person. They created their own 42-foot right-of-way. If there's any hardship in that, which I don't think it is in terms of topography or uniqueness of the land, it's something that the developer, or the successor of the developer in this case, has created. So I would ask the board to deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Jim Carpenter, 100 Westwood Street. In opposition of this, environmental concerns. It's all wetland. When I bought the house, they said it was all wetland there, not unbuildable. The wildlife out there, there's deer, turkey, salamanders, frogs, birds. It's just, I think the whole dynamics of this is going to destroy that whole area. Flood zones, everything is going to get destroyed in there. People are going to get water in their homes. I currently don't get water, but the potential is there once you change the dynamics of this wetland. And then utility-wise, you're going to put a road in there. There's going to be a fence coming down, perhaps, on the sides. Is that what's going to be? I live
On both sides, yes.
Yep. How am I going to get on my driveway? I can't see it. It's a very busy road.
Yeah. Oh, I
Cannot-
understand.
Yeah, that will not fly. That's a danger right there. It's a safety concern. Snow removal. You're going to have fences on both sides. What are you going to do with the snow?
The driveway would only be 16 feet, so that allows you to blade it out. The width is 42 feet.
Yeah, that's a big concern there too. I just think you have a big problem here with all the water, the wetland. It's wet year round out there. It's not just like in the spring. It's year round. You have this problem.
Can I ask where you are in reference to the property?
Thank you. Here is address. What was your address again?
100 Westwood, right there.
100, thank
Yeah.
you.
So you're
We will
directly
be-
to the left of that?
Yeah, we will be impacted directly with this road coming in there.
Okay.
And like I say, I've seen salamanders. I have pictures of the salamander I caught and I let it go out in the backyard, out in the woods there. And I've seen salamanders. The one was in my driveway and I scooped him up and got him in the woods. But, if you need proof of that, I have it.
No, I'm sure it's an exceptional area for wildlife, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you that they will not be building in the wetlands, and I'm not trying to take or dissuade you. I'm just saying that they will not be allowed to build in the wetlands. which is the habitat for the
But-
salamander.
Looking at this, they're going right over that where the culvert is. They're going right over it.
I did see that. Again, it's beyond our purview. I mean, if we could address that, we certainly would, but our decision is not conservation or wetlands
So
or setbacks.
you'll move forward to someone else.
Correct, and the board will be very thorough with that. I don't know, you know, it's of concern, for sure. It's just not our concern. We're trying to deal with the zoning
And-
portion of this and not the conservation. It's just not what we do.
Right, okay.
But I appreciate it. I understand it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Good evening.
I'm Maureen O'Sullivan. My husband Gene and I live at 98 Westford Street, right next to Jim and Ellen Carpenter. So we're going to be affected by the driveway that's coming in. It's going to come in between both of our houses. There is a storm drain on Westford Street right in between our houses, which is a problem right now because it's crumbling. All the debris, when they plow coming down Westford Street, goes into that storm drain. So Jim and my husband have to go out there frequently and dig it out and clear it. Otherwise, there's going to be water collecting there, which is a hazard if it freezes, and it also ends up in our basement. We also have a water problem, like most of the abutters. We had to have a drainage, a French drain, and a sump pump installed. And that took care of our basement not flooding anymore. But the sump pump is on frequently when we have rain. We also have to run a dehumidifier most of the summer because of the high water table and the water comes into the basement. So our concerns are the same with the wetlands, the brook. The brook runs, it comes down Lantern Lane, which is right across from our house, runs under Westford Street, and then it runs underground in between our two houses, and then it comes out and runs above ground. When we have heavy rain, that brook is flowing very strongly, and it almost overflows the banking as it is. So that, again, is going to be our concern if they, I don't know how they're going to put that road in and not have that brook affected. There's also a plan to construct two 6-foot-high stockade fences. I'm not sure what the purpose of that is, but they're going to be on both sides of the driveway, as Jim mentioned. I'm concerned in the winter when they plow that all of that snow, I don't know where that's going to go. Looks like it's going to go in the back where there's already a problem with water. I don't think any of us want to deny anybody the opportunity to make a living, but I think you have to take into consideration whether their actions are going to cause harm to other people. And I think a lot of us are going to be adversely affected if this construction goes through. Thank you.
Hello, Erin Carpenter, 100 Westford Street. Just like Maureen said, you know, it is a tough situation and it is important to consider both sides, but I do think for the greater good, there are a lot of people that will be negatively affected by this, unfortunately. It's a major wildlife corridor, and the biodiversity there is really large. The birds are a really good indicator of a healthy habitat, and there are plenty of birds there, different varieties. And then just to give like a viewing, so this is 100 Westford Street, and the catch basin is right there, and there's also a utility pole there as well. And then this part right here, it has sunk in a couple times, and so that's where their driveway would be. And so I'm just not sure how stable that would be. It just seems like a major project for the area that would have a lot of flooding issues for other people.
Thank you.
Can I make a motion to continue this, Brian? You wanna do that, or?
I think that is a good idea. I have one more speaker. I don't know if she's the last, but
Courtney Yagman, I live at 4 Pine Hill Road.
I share the same concerns that everybody has, the environment, the pollution, everything. If this, there's such a potential for this to have a negative impact. It's in all of our backyards. It's a giant area. And for the people that have already had flooding issues and had to put in drains, for those who hadn't, if it starts flooding, that all has to come out of our pockets. We have to pay for that if this project causes damage to our homes. And I don't think this all really needs to be taken into serious consideration. It's a big project. We have kids on that street. The street is busy. It's at that intersection, it's insane all the time. It's dangerous as it is. And to put in another driveway and fences, it's gonna make it difficult for the people that live right next door to see the traffic. And it just poses a risk to everyone in this neighborhood.
Thank you. We're gonna say this will be the last gentleman. Would you like to speak, ma'am?
Actually, I'm the attorney. I just wanted to address a couple of quick things. One of the problems with this property is, one of the hardships is, at the neck there, the town has somehow made a culvert to bring all the water that's running off Westford Road down into this vacant lot. So they've actually created an artificial wetlands at the neck of that. The wetlands in the back, we understand, has to go through conservation. But the proposal is that we're going to improve that storm drain and that culvert if granted the opportunity to take this lot further and get in front of the Conservation Commission, ideally to replicate wetlands and move some of that problem off the neck and pick up some of that runoff from Westford Street. There's not a brook running from Lantern through, to my knowledge, that is actually man-made water from the drainage and the storm drains on Westford Road.
Not so. No, not so.
That's not true. That's wrong.
It really is an interesting point, but it's not our purview. We're not considering the wetlands issue at all. We're zoning,
Correct.
so
That statement was wrong.
we won't worry it.
Can we, Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we continue this and maybe take an opportunity for us to.
I think we will do that then. We're gonna stop here. We'll continue this on June 2nd.
Yep.
And if you're in agreement, we would like to do a site walk on the 21st of May.
After our 10 o'clock.
Acceptable to enter the property? We have an appointment at 10 o'clock. I'd say sometime around 10:30, 11, I think would be enough time, a half hour at Parker Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could do 10 o'clock, that would be great.
No,
So we'll be at Parker Road,
Okay.
Parkerville Road at 10 o'clock.
Okay, and then over to
10:30
me
kind of
within
thing.
30, 40, 50, whatever. Okay.
Yep.
That's
And we're
fine.
just gonna come by and just try to get a visual so
problem.
we understand it.
Not a problem. Your best bet is to park on Lantern Lane and walk across the street.
I appreciate that.
Park on Lantern?
Yes.
Okay.
It's directly
Can I get a
across.
motion to continue?
I make a motion to continue the variance request for the,
Before you get there, I'm just looking at the application, and it seems that it was filed on March 7th, 2022, and because this is an application for a variance, the board has 100 days on which to act, so I think it would be in the board's best interest to get an extension of that time period from the applicant.
So what I'd like to do is extend the 100-day limitation to, at this point, 150 days?
Or 130.
130 days?
130 is fine.
Okay.
Yep.
So that does need to be in writing, so can you just?
I'll send an email to Jose or to the
To
board, to the
Becky,
chair?
probably.
Okay,
Becky.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, good catch, Paul.
Okay.
So if I could get a motion to continue?
I'll make a motion to continue this until January 2nd for the variance request for the lot on Westford Road. Oh, was it lot 4?
Lot 4.
Are we doing it lot 4?
A second?
Second.
Charlie? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you for your time. The public hearing is still open. We've just continued it. Nothing affects you. You'll be able to speak again at the next hearing.
Question, when did you agree to go and check the lot? I didn't catch.
May 21st.
May 21st.
Yes,
And
approximately 10:30.
I'm not trying to stir up any animosity. We have received permission to go on the property. I cannot speak for you guys, just so you know, we've run into that before. I don't know if he'd had an issue or not, but.
Well, now you know what you're doing.
Now we're gonna go to executive session, I believe.
I'll go on, yeah, you too.
Bye-bye. Making sure.
Just do the minutes, just move the minutes till next. Just address that.
It's late, why don't we do that? We just carry him.
I make a motion to continue the minutes to the next meeting.
What about executive session?
We gotta do that, but you have to do the minutes first.
We don't have to do the
Oh,
minutes,
well,
we're just gonna continue them.
Okay. Continue.
We're gonna go into executive session, Mr. Haverty, no minutes.
Not gonna do the minutes?
Correct, we'll wait till next month.
Right, so you have to make an announcement in the public, so you're gonna read the agenda item. So you'll be going into executive session not to return.
Okay.
Okay, can I ask a question just before we do that? I did not vote on that call, so should I stay here or leave?
What are we talking about?
As long as you weren't, as long as you didn't recuse yourself.
No, he just wasn't here.
Because I missed too many meetings.
Okay, well, you're still eligible.
Okay.
What are we talking about?
I'll show up saying listen.
Oh, okay.
He's gotta announce it.
Got to announce it first.
And do I have something to read here that I'm missing?
This one, right here. We are now going into executive session to discuss the pending litigation.
We are now going into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation and a potential settlement relating to the property located at 2430 Second Lane.
We will not be returning.
We will not be returning.
And this requires a roll call vote.
And this requires a roll call vote.
Please exit the room.
So
Assuming at this point.
The vote to enter into executive session requires a roll call.
Okay.
So, Charlie, do you agree to go into executive session?
Yes.
Jamie, do you agree to go into executive session?
Yes.
Aaron, do you agree to go into executive session?
I do.
Peter, do you agree to go into executive
I do.
session? Glenn, do you agree to go into executive session? Becky, probably not. Steve, do you agree to go into executive session?
Yes.
Now, is Jose going to join us? Is that,
Jose is going to join us.
but he doesn't need to agree.
Mr. Haverty, do you agree to go into
He could
executive
even
session?
be against his will for all we know.